Beşiktaş Talk Show.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet. Ve
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. I hope you can hear me because in the previous 1 minute and 30 seconds you couldn't hear me, but that problem has now been fixed. I had to bring my computer in earlier this week. Got it updated to Windows 11 and stuff like that, and some stuff had to be fixed. It had to be blown out because it was full of dust. I was getting some unforeseen shutdowns. So apparently, in the process of that, some settings went back to default or something. I don't know, but my microphone wasn't selected in the default settings of my broadcasting software. But now it is. Thank you all for joining us. We're coming off of yet another disappointing defeat that infuriated the fans in the stadium, the fans online, fans in general. Our group chat was full of doom and gloom for 2 to 3 days, I think, after the match. So let's talk about it. My name is Kaan Bayezid. As always, I am joined by my co-host Sinan Shording. Sinan, welcome back to the show. And of course, we have our returning hero, the conquering hero of Kutaya. Kutaya? What's it called? Katal. Welcome back to the podcast, Katal.
Thank you very much. No, I was in a few places, but I was only a few days. But for the most part, I was in Çerkezköy, which is where my in-laws live. And then I also was in Istanbul and Edirne as well. So I did travel a fair amount in a few weeks. But happy to be back on the Black Eagles podcast with my boys. Let's be under better circumstances where we can talk about some nice things. But unfortunately, we're going to be talking about a defeat to Başakşehir, which it was a very disappointing game. Yeah. Just like for the most part recently, unfortunately.
Yet another defeat. This is the sixth game now, I think, or at least in the last 6 games, we have only won once, and of course that was against the previously unbeaten Galatasaray, and then now of course, we haven't won since, and we haven't won in a few games before that either. And now, of course, the chat isn't showing up, which it always has to be something. It's like living. Oh, now it's working. Okay, good, because I was gonna get some high blood pressure there. Like mother effer, can't you work? Like something has to happen. Something has to not work. Guys, bad performance. Did you guys think it was a terrible performance? Maybe, you know what, let's we're gonna change things a little bit. I'm gonna show the lineup, but we're not gonna leave the screen up for too long. We're just gonna show the lineup. Maybe Sinan, you can
and I can just read it.
Just blast through the lineup maybe quickly, and then we'll go over the individual performances of our players.
Yeah, and if you want, you can get off the screen. I can read from my
all right.
My little application
I'll leave it up for like
for a
seconds.
moment. No, for sure.
So people can see it.
And of course, we should probably talk about our silly rivals, coached by, of course, Çağdaş Atan, who's a club favorite. I wouldn't call him a legend, having done our tier thing. We got to be specific with our language.
No, certainly no legend.
So in their goal, of course, Muhammed Şengezer, 28-year-old Turk. On the back line, of course, we've got Leo Duarte, 28-year-old Brazilian, next to Ousseynou Ba, 29-year-old Senegalese defender. On their back flanks, you've got Christopher Operi, 27-year-old Ivorian left back, who played opposite Umer Ali Şahiner, 33-year-old Turk, a name that most would recognize and who've been watching the Super League for the last few years. In the back of their midfield was Berat Özdemir, 26-year-old Turk, also pretty familiar name for anyone who's been watching the Super League the last few years, who played right behind a couple familiar names, actually. First, you've got Miguel Crespo, 28-year-old Portuguese. I thought he was a winger, but I guess he plays in the center of the midfield. And, of course, Olivier Kemen, 28-year-old Cameroonian. And on their wings, you had 23-year-old Croatian Ivan Bernic, who left the game at some point. I don't know why, if he was injured or what. But he played opposite, of course, none other than Khan's favorite, Yusuf Sarı, who we're going to have to talk about at some point today. And, of course, up top, Krzysztof Piątek, 29-year-old
Piątek, yes.
Polish. Is there another term for Polish? I guess whatever. Polish striker. And then I guess, we got to talk about, of course, good old Beşiktash. And so, you want to flash up the lineup again for folks so they can see it very briefly?
Yeah.
So there they are. And it's interesting that you'll notice some interesting moves there, especially when you look at our fullback situation or central defender situation. But so, of course, in goal, you have Mert Günok, Jonas Svensson, and Paulista on the back line. Of course, Svensson taken out of position and replaced by Oxlade-Chamberlain as a right back opposite Arthur Masuaku. Jedson and Salih Uçan played in the back of our midfield with Rafa Silva up in front of them and Mucci on the left side, Rashica on the right, and Mustafa Hekimoğlu up top.
Yeah, saw you hating on him a little bit in the group chat, Sinan. I didn't want to get into it because I've been critical of Mustafa, but I did not agree with you. But I thought I'm gonna save it for the podcast.
I actually, and my criticism of him was just that he wasn't what we needed for a match like this. As far as we needed someone to put goals in the back of the net, and he's still yet to do it.
Yeah.
But no, I would not criticize his effort. Obviously, he was all over the pitch. If anything, he was one of the only guys who really seemed committed to trying to win this game. So I'm not really critical of his performance all in all. It's just, the argument is just that he's not maybe good enough at this stage of his career for Beşiktaş. But
he's not
that's a deep-seated issue, really.
He does make decent runs, and he does work hard, and I felt myself thinking watching the game, like, I just wish if you could put Semi and Mustafa together in like a blender, and
exactly,
and you
mash them together.
I feel like if you mash them together, you would have like a really, really good player. But Mustafa is lacking. Mustafa is lacking a lot of polish, but I think he has a good mentality, and it's something that Ole also keeps praising. He keeps praising the kid's attitude, the kid's mentality, his willingness to learn, his eagerness in training, and that's also why he's giving him minutes, and he's talking about giving him more minutes in the future, and there's definitely something there. But he's not ready. That's clear. But then the alternatives, of course, Semi was still suspended for this match due to his red card against Galatasaray. I still think that was a harsh red card at the time, and I think that his suspension should have definitely been reduced to 1 game.
This 2-match ban thing is crazy.
Yeah, I think he did not deserve a 2-match ban for what happened there. But at the end of the day, he was suspended. And then Ciro lately has been so bad that
nobody was clamoring for Ciro.
The only thing you could have maybe done if you were Ole is, instead of playing with Mustafa, is just going back to the
false nine.
False nine, exactly.
That was what I had been thinking.
And put João Mario in instead of or Kenny, but or João Mario in for Mustafa, and then put Rafa and Mucci in that alternating, or the João Mario. I thought that worked really well. Worked really well against Galatasaray. Worked really well against for 30 minutes. It worked really well against Göztepe until we got a red card. So I don't really understand why he went away from that necessarily. What do you think, Kartal?
Yeah, I agree with you fully, Can. In recent times, the best games we've played were against Galatasaray, which obviously the only game in the last six that we've won. And then in that first half an hour against Göztepe, where we were dominant, looking good, people were thinking, yeah, well, hopefully we're going to turn this back around in terms of form. After the Galatasaray game, we started that game very well as well. And then obviously there was a red card to Tayyip Talha that ruined that game. So it does make you wonder, like, why deviate from that tactic when it was working so well? It is a question mark for myself, and I don't see why he didn't keep doing it. So I think that probably is the move. But maybe in the tactical analysis of Kasımpaşa and later on of Başakşehir, maybe Ole and the rest of the coaching staff decided that wasn't the move, and who are to say that that's not true if they're the ones doing the analysis. But in terms of from a fan's point of view, as I said, I'm kind of left with question marks as to why we did deviate from the false line system.
Yeah. That's my one that's my one criticism, I think, of this match. I don't think you can blame Ole a lot in this game, because I think the tactical choices he made were largely forced. He had to go with an experimental back line, and I saw some people saying, "Oh, this isn't the time for experimenting." This, like, what?
What do you mean?
Well,
like we had a choice.
Yeah, like what choice did he have other than playing, a 16-year-old central defender from the academy or something? And he mentioned in his post-match.
How is that less? Yeah, and how would that be experimenting less than what we saw, right? Like, I agree.
In his post-match press conference, he mentioned, he was asked about why didn't you, or did you consider trying to play somebody from the academy? And he said, yeah, there's some players in the academy that we like. Mustafa is one of them. I'm not sure which Mustafa he's talking about.
I think it's another one. There's another Mustafa.
Yeah, there's another Mustafa, exactly, but he's like a defender, but I'm not sure which one he's talking about. Because I don't remember a Mustafa in our defense in the youth. I'm just looking through it, but I don't even see one. But anyway, he mentioned somebody, but it's like 2008, and he's like, and he justifies it. He's like, this isn't the time to put young players in because of the atmosphere and all that kind of stuff, and you know what? After seeing the reaction from some fans, or from the fans, I don't blame him, because if you look, I think, if I'm not mistaken, when Mustafa got subbed off, were they booing him?
It seemed like it. I don't know.
Were they booing him? Did you notice, Kato?
I think everyone get booed. So
but why would you boo a 17-year-old?
Kenny Arroyo was booed as well.
Kenny took a shot, like a really wild bad shot, and like the crowd just jeered. And at that point, he was on the pitch for like 5 minutes or something. And
What's also worse is it seems like everyone's analysis of Kenny is based on that one shot that was wild. And if you like watch how he played, because I did my second watching again because it was on TV here. Kenny actually almost every touch was good. He was like linking up play well, passing the ball, distributing it. Every pass was crisp, and then he had that one wonky shot, and that seems to be the only thing that's stuck in anyone's memory.
First action he had, he wins a corner. I mean, we don't do anything with corners, but still, I mean, he wins a corner. It's more. I mean, I understand the fans booing the majority of the team, and I understand the protest, and I understand being furious, but I do not. There's no circumstance in which you can justify booing Mustafa, who's a 17-year-old, or maybe he just had
who ran his ass off too.
Who ran his ass off. And there's no excuse whatsoever to Kenny Arroyo, who we invested heavily in, cost us a lot of money. He's an investment for the future. Obviously, people are hoping for him to have a more direct impact, but given the circumstances, that is a tall order, and there's just no excuse for booing those people. Like, and the thing is, Katla, you say they were booing everyone, but that's not true, because they weren't booing Rafa Silva. I don't think they were booing Jetson.
They actually sang his song at the end of it.
At the end,
they were booing, and when they were done,
yeah.
like when they were done booing, they because they had gone out to apologize.
Yeah. And you could also hear like when people were, when during the game when people were on the ball, like they were booing, and then when Rafa got the ball, they stopped. So it's not like they were booing everyone. They were booing everyone except for like Rafa and maybe Jetson. I don't remember if they were booing Jetson.
That's two exceptions. Yeah, I think you're right about that. Obviously, it's been a couple of days since the game played, so please forgive me.
No. But I'm just saying, like, if you can make an exception for Rafa, why don't you make an exception
not
for
the
these
kids?
kids? Why are you booing the kids?
Let's be honest as well. It's not as if Rafa played a good game, was it? It wasn't very good.
No. Wasn't his best game.
I'm just trying to think. Well, what did he do in this game? Because there's a couple of good things he did, but he lost the ball again a couple of times. But yeah, it wasn't Rafa's best game by any stretch of the imagination. Although I think
it was Rashica who wasted our chances today.
I mean, if you want my honest opinion on this game, is we did not deserve to lose this game.
No, I don't think so either.
I agree. I was watching the highlights, and it kind of.
I think
it's hard when you're in that moment because you see the collapse and you're like you get so negative.
No,
when you see the overview, man, like we kind of dominated the first 30 minutes.
First half was kind of 50-50. We weren't great, but the second half we started really, really well, and we deserved to go a goal up, and then they score. 20 minutes in, and that completely.
But even in the first half, like we were not pressing it hard enough, but we were fairly dominant until they had that one chance in like the 30-something minute.
Had that really
remember, it was the Kemen. Yeah, and Merritt made a great save in his defense, but it was also a terrible shot. But
it's the turning point of the match is the Mohamed Şengezer save on Gabriel Paulista's header, because he pushes it against the bar. If he doesn't touch that, we're going 1-0 up, and I think we win this game with ease, because this season our biggest issue, I feel, this season, and it's not in every match. And it's not been throughout the season, because I think we were scoring relatively easily early on. But generally, if you look at the season as a whole, and also last season, us scoring goal, it costs us way too much energy and way too much effort, and we score way too difficult. It's too hard for us to score goals. And
our chance is still not good enough, man.
No, it's not. But we do. I mean, this game, our chance creation wasn't great, and against Kasımpaşa it wasn't either. But like, for example, against Göztepe, the first 30 minutes, we created like 4 chances before we scored. And against Galatasaray, we had a relatively decent. So it's not even like our chance creation is not what it should be. I agree with you, especially like the quality of chances. Usually if we get big chances, the player that gets them is Rafa and nobody else. That's a problem, I think, that only Rafa gets chances. Only Rafa is able to get himself into positions to get chances. But the biggest issue is that it just, in this game you felt, and we've had so many matches like this season, where you feel like if we can just find that breakthrough, we probably have it, and we can then, play maybe a little bit more conservatively, hit them on the counter, whatever. But in this match, you knew as soon as they score, we don't have the tools to then turn it around. And I know we have turned matches around, especially now under Ole, we have turned matches around. But generally speaking, we lack the power up top. We don't have a battering ram, which we've talked about since the summer has been a massive issue. We don't have that. We don't have that ability to suffocate the opponents, to push them back against their own goal, and then to play dangerous crosses, play dangerous balls into the area, because we don't have presence there. And that in these types of matches against a team like Başakşehir and against a team like Kasımpaşa last week, we just don't have the power up top to turn those games around. I know we still got a point against Kasımpaşa, but
we're not good. See, when we've got the opposition in their half and we're passing the ball about, we're not good at that, full stop. We're bad at it. We're only effective going forward when on the transition. Like, can you think of many goals we've scored when we've had the opposition pinned?
Yeah, most of our if you talk about the big chances we create, most of the time that's Rafa running in behind. That's not that it does happen, but like for example against Trabzon we had chances, where Rafa's in the box and we find him in the box, and then the goalkeeper has a great save. It happens, of course, but generally speaking, if you think about big chances Beşiktaş have missed, like 9 out of 10 of those big chances this season will be Rafa, and like 8 out of 10 out of those Rafa chances will probably have been runs on goal in behind, because we don't create chances otherwise, and that's something we've been talking about all season. We're shit on crosses. Like,
yeah, I mean that's.
Yeah.
Even our defenders aren't great in the air. Real quick, I wanted to refute a point that was made in the comments. A little fact checking, if you will. So I think it was a new commenter, Emirjan Kutlu, said, "But do you think Ole not bringing any academy players up is reasonable?" And our very own Carlito said, "Why did Ole not call up any under 19 central defenders, even not on the bench?"
Mm-hmm.
That was.
There were a number. Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. So on our bench, just for folks who are listening, was Arda Berk Ozurap, which is an interesting name. But he was a young central defender. Yeah, and of course Emrecan Terzi. Fahri I was on the bench, as well as Arda Kilic. So we did have a number of those players up on the bench. So I'm wondering if maybe...
Yeah, but Fahri Keremay and Arda are obviously offensive players. But but
no, someone else said, why didn't we bring any academy players up to even the bench? And then it was Carlito said, why not any central defenders? And so we did have a central defender in the way of... it's funny, Fatma lists him as Ozuarap, which is, I mean, I think it's Arda Berk, right?
Arda Berk, Ozuarap. I mean, Ole did address this in his post-match press conference, and he said that, I considered playing Emrecan Terzi at left back, and then moving.
But he's fresh from an injury too, right?
Yeah, exactly. He said, I considered playing Terzi left back and then putting Masuaku back in the back line. But I decided against that because he's only just returned from injury, and that wouldn't have been fair on him, given the circumstances, given the atmosphere I think he used. And he said the same thing about young players. He just said, I think right now is not a good time to bring new players. And that's what we were just talking about. I think he's completely justified if you see our fans reacting the way they did against Mustafa and against Kenny. If you see how they... I don't understand how you can how you expect young players to be given their debuts in difficult times like this, with all that pressure and with the fans acting the way they do. Beforehand, when the stadium was showing and it was like half empty, I was thinking to myself, you know what? Kudos to those people who did go. Kudos to them. But then I find myself very often in these sorts of matches where the stadium's half full and the result is negative. I always find myself thinking, why the fuck did you come? Why did you go to the stadium? And don't get me wrong, guys, I think it's fully justified that they booed the team and that they weren't happy with the performance, generally speaking. Although, I do think, I agree with you guys, I don't think we deserve to lose this match. I feel like people act like suddenly we played 90 dog shit minutes. We didn't. We played under very difficult circumstances with very big issues in terms of the squad, with terms of options available. And I also think that the fans have been showing this sort of toxic behavior for a while. And that's something Ole has picked up on, of course. And I think he's right to not give a young kid his debut in a match like this. Because, unless you have like a mega talent like Yusuf Akçiçek for Fenerbahçe, if you have someone like that in the academy, that who you think, okay, he's 18, 19 years old, he's ready. But he was talking about, 16-year-old kids. Like, I understand not giving a 16-year-old central defender his debut in a match like this, in the circumstances like this, with the fans being in the state they're in and have been for a while. And, of course, justifiably so to an extent, but you don't boo kids. And you cannot, on one side, ask for youth, ask for kids, ask for talented
player development.
Ask for scouting signings, ask for this. Fans are always like, oh, where's our scouting department? Where's this? Where's that? Where's that? Then we sign a player like Kenny, and it's like, he's not ready. He should have been ready. Yeah, but it doesn't work.
Or like, why is that shot so terrible? And like, you don't even see the good that he provides.
It doesn't work like
that's
that.
What's even crazy.
These young players, especially players coming for the first time from South America, they need 6 months, they need 12 months, they need 18 months to adjust sometimes. Some players, they hit the ground running and they're off to the races, especially if they get inserted into a team that's already functioning well. But that's not the case.
Con, I want to go back. I want to go back to a previous point you were talking about before we even, because as far as the criticism people have for the decisions Ole made about who's playing where, I think it's important to note that we actually didn't concede until the 60th minute. And so that lineup that everyone was so critical of, they're not the ones who conceded. And I think you have to give Ole every credit for doing enough experimentation that we're not seeing him just like default to Onur Bulut, right? He's trying other things out. He's trying to figure, like he's kind of, he recognizes where there's a lack of talent. And he's trying to sort of instill something else. Like he's trying to, at least he's trying to make things work. And that team actually held out, and we were doing okay for a while there, right? Until like we said, the 30, second minute or whatever it was when Kemen's shot was up.
But why did Sadil come off at half time for Onur Bulut?
Yeah, I mean the subs were questionable.
Maybe he had an injury. Maybe we don't know.
Yeah, and it's Sally's first real playing time, like extended playing time in a while. So maybe he's tired. But
also, granted, I think we played really well up until they score. Because in the first half, I kind of felt like they were the more dangerous side. But in the second half, up until they score, it's all us. And I think Rasicka switched to the left side. He started the second half off really well. Maybe he should have scored, but he started really well in the second half. And you know me, I'm not a big Rasicka fan, but if I'm praising him, that says something. I think he started that second half really well. We had the really big opportunity also on a Rasicka cross, mind you, for Gabriel Paulista. Fantastic save by Mohamed Şengezer. If that goes in, I think we win this game with ease. Because Başakşehir did not impress me. There were a couple of players like Kemen. I thought Kemen had a good game. Yusuf Sarı in the first half, we didn't really see him. But then in the second half, he came out to play.
We definitely did, yeah.
On the goal, I kind of feel like Mert could have done better. I know it takes a deflection, but Mert did not look good there. I think he should have done better. It's not like last week's deflection against Kasımpaşa. There's nothing he could really do there, I feel. But this deflection feels like,
I'm going to take it one further. I think Masuaku and Paulista could have done better as well. I think Yusuf just flew by them too easily.
Especially Masuaku.
I mean, but he got by 4 guys, didn't he? Right? He skips past Masuaku, and then there's still 3 other defenders, and he gets past. Like he does that same juke move on each guy. It was like FIFA, how do you?
It's too easy. It's like
everyone fall for the same thing.
It was like he was prime Arjen Robben or something. And that's also something Ole was saying in his post-match press conference. It's like, we're way too nice. Why isn't somebody taking out the hatchet and bringing him down? He said literally in his press conference, I'd want someone like Roy Keane or Gennaro Gattuso in this team. Because if you have someone like that, he's going to kick that guy.
Joseph De Souza.
Nobody did it. Like, sometimes you just need to take out the blunt axe and you need to hack out the legs out from under him. And, like, that's a position where, like, if he beats Masuaku, okay, somebody else needs to step in. I think at the point, Paulista had a yellow card already. I think he's the only one. Why does Masuaku not make the fall? Just grab his shirt.
I think Paulista got the yellow card after that, bro. I think
he might have. He might have.
Or the free kick for the second goal.
Yeah, he might have. He might have. But like, why is nobody there like stepping up? Like, there needs to be some
Jetson is usually good for that on occasion. So yeah, I don't know where he was.
Jetson is good at recovering the ball, but he rarely takes out the blunt axe. He always tries to do it cleanly. He doesn't like, sometimes like a guy like Roy Keane or Gattuso, like those types of players. They're like, okay, I'm not gonna get the ball the normal way. I'm just gonna pull this guy down, or I'm just gonna tackle him down, or whatever. Like they know what to do, And this is the type of situation where we could have used that. And I think Mert needs to save it. The defenders need to do better. The only defender that gets a pass for me is Svensson. And like on the second goal, yeah, I don't think you can say much. That was a fantastic
very good free kick.
Yeah, like
not much you can say about that. I mean, and really, you could give him credit for the first goal too, to be honest. But
too easy.
Just real quick, so we got some comments. Yeah, no, that's true. Some comments on it. So Umer Gunnar said Rashica was on the right. He messed up his crosses. Oh, sorry, that's not about this. This was Umer said Masuaku forces Yusuf to cut inside. So he's saying that was a credit to him, but then he cuts Gabriel also, cuts Svensson, and then shoots through Onur, of course, and it phases through Mert, the friendly ghost. Yeah. And then from the Heart video says Mert was sliding for sure. And then Murder Mert said, I feel Sally was taken out. So this is about what we're talking about, the halftime decision. So this is maybe to you, Carta. I feel Sally was taken out to move Ox up and bring in a natural defender. Sally was the only expendable player at the time. My only argument against that, Murder Mert, is Onur a natural defender? Is Onur a natural anything?
I do think he might be right. I mean, Onur moved.
Of course, no. I think logically that's why he did it. Yeah.
Although I personally thought Ox was doing a decent job at right back. I did,
Me too. And Rashica has the ability to kind of cover for guys. I think when you have someone who's out of position as a right back, he almost naturally comes back to cover a little bit more, and that's actually kind of a strength of his. So.
I don't know what the logic was. I don't think that changed. I mean, I don't think that changes what loses us this game. Although, Onur, maybe he could have done better. But
I want to watch that first goal again. Maybe
you can say like Masuaku forces him to cut in. Yeah, okay, maybe. But like, I feel still like he gets passed way too easily. And, that's not the first time Masuaku kind of gets clowned by Yusuf Sarı, right? Like, the same thing happened against ADS when he was playing there. Yeah. I mean, Yusuf Sarı, I've said it before, is a player I would have liked to have on our squad. I think he would have been a really good squad player for us.
Does he have some sort of a beef with Beşiktaş?
I mean,
at the end of the game...
That comes from what Samet Aybaba said, man.
Yeah, Samet Aybaba
said that this guy isn't like suited to playing for Beşiktaş. He's a counter-type player.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and since then he's fucked us twice.
Thanks, now. Samet.
Oh, exactly.
Guy.
It's all
talk
in the
about
description.
The friendly ghost, man.
It's
that
all
guy's phantom has been haunting us all season.
No, I mean, I've been a fan of Yusuf Sarı since he was at Trabzon. He got criticized a lot by Trabzon fans. Like for not being efficient and all that kind of stuff, but he has something like Rafa. He has some instincts that you can't teach, and they're like, and he's fast and he's nimble. He gets past players easily. There's always room for a player like that in your squad, and whether he's a counter player or not, unless you're paying him like ridiculous money, who the F cares, man? Like, you can use players like that.
He's a capable Turkish winger at this point.
Exactly.
For our club, like for where we are, like that should be gold.
Exactly.
Like
but then I saw a tweet earlier today from Ertan Süzgün, who said, if it wasn't for the elections, Yusuf Sarı would be playing for Beşiktaş, blah, blah, blah, blah, but he didn't want to wait. Like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, I'm a fan of his, but seriously, Yusuf Sarı, you're an idiot, man. You're a fucking retard. Because why the fuck would you sign for Başakşehir?
Yeah, come on.
Why the fuck? Like, he signed for them before the window even opened. have some fucking patience, man. If you're legitimately talking to Beşiktaş and just wait until the elections are over and then just sign for us. Like, what the fuck? Why would you sign for that fucking husk of a club? It doesn't make any sense. So he's a really good Turkish alternative on the wing. He's a fantastic squad player, but he's also a fucking moron. Career choice.
I mean, the reason I asked,
moron.
At the end of the game, there was some chant, and Khan, I don't know if you saw it in the group chat. There was some request for you to do like a special, Patreon episode on the chants, which I thought was a good idea.
It's a good idea, but it's a lot of work.
It's probably a lot of work. Yeah,
but it's
especially the translation.
Just translation is not a problem. It's just how to do it.
Talking about the format siktirin gidin chant.
You need the lyrics with the ball that bounces. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But what was I saying? Yes, at the end of the game, they were doing some sort of chant, and Yusuf Sarı stuck his finger in his ears, like he didn't want to hear it, and then he did this, like blah blah blah blah. The fans are talking some shit, and so I don't know.
Fans, I think that was the Samet Aybaba.
I think so, but like, why? Why is he doing that? The guy is
our fans, like during the game after they scored, were chanting "Formayı çıkarın, siktirin gidin, take off the jersey and fuck off." That was to our own players.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with Yusuf Sarı.
Yeah. No, it's probably to Samet Aybaba, and rightfully so. But then he's not at the club anymore. I don't know, but I understand why he wants to send the message. And I really would wish to that on social media, like fans would be fucking gilding him more, man. Like seriously, like first he extends Tayyip Talha. Now he completely fucked the ball on Yusuf. We could have had Yusuf like over a year ago, man. But like Samet Aybaba had to disrespect him. Like Adana Demirspor were financially in the shits. We could have probably had him for like 500k or something. Like why not?
I don't know, man.
Right? Like,
did you hear? So the media asked Ole in that interview if he had any plans to like punish players by leaving them kadro dışı, and he goes, "I don't believe in that.
No,
for me, the biggest way you can harm a player is to make them sit on the bench, right? Like make them feel like you're not on the field for a reason, and like they should be close enough to the field but not on it so that they feel that pain." And I thought that was such a profound thing, and again it really fits into the whole like speaking of Samet Aybaba.
The whole kadro dışı thing is so typically Turkish, man. Like I see it so often being said by certain people, like, oh, there should be kadro dışıing these players, blah blah blah blah blah blah blah. Like, what does that do? We've done it last year. It had zero impact. Zero.
It devalues your assets, is what it does.
It had zero positive impact. I'll put it that way. It definitely had an impact, but no positive one whatsoever. And there's still people who are clamoring for it now. What the fuck do you think it's gonna do?
If anything, the whole kadro dışı thing has a negative impact on the club because that lets the other clubs know that. We're desperate to get rid of these guys, and then they don't want money. Yeah. They wait out because they think, they're going to end up paying out his contract anyway. We can get him for free. So if you're harming your own prospect of making it any sort of money on players, and a lot of the time you end up buying them out, you lose money on it because you're having to pay out a 1.5 year contract up front.
How much money did we pay this year to get players to fuck off? Like how much of our budget?
Just said at the Divan Congress that we're paying like 4.75 million including tax for Abu Bakar. That money's been given to Hatayspor for his wages.
We'll talk about that as well, by the way, in a little bit. We'll talk about the whole
Congress. Yeah, we'll have
ridiculous bullshit there because, like, that's another one of those things. Like, even Ole addressed that in the post-match, and for the first time ever, I kind of got the sense that Ole wasn't sure about it anymore because, like, he said,
I saw that. I've never seen anything like it.
He mentioned, but he also mentioned, like, I really hope that we can move forward with this president. But like it almost felt like there was like doubt in his voice there. Like I don't know if we can.
There was.
Yeah, I feel like that. Like and honestly, let's talk about the whole thing at the Congress or whatever that was. What was that like? I don't know.
street brawl
with Tevfik Yaman-Türk, the head of the Council of Elders, the Divan Kurulu, assaulting Hassan Arat. And look, I'm not gonna defend Hassan Arat, but he should at least be given the opportunity to speak and to have his say, and to like it's absolutely unacceptable. And that this person is, on top of that, is refusing to step down from his role now. Like, you've embarrassed the club.
There's like a media operation to legitimize what he's done. Like, oh, apparently Hassan Arat was saying this and provoking that, and that. Like, no, man, this is not like a grade school playground brawl. Like, you're not supposed to brawl in a Congress. You guys are adults.
It's like
you're adults.
The last 3 Congresses, like, you know, with the elections, there was some stuff. And then the previous time there was bullshit with Ahmet Nurçebi and stuff like that. And look, I understand that fans are angry, but like, and also like, Serdar Adalı, this was a chance for you to step up and show that you're the leader that this club needs. And what does he do? He steps up and he leaves. He doesn't do anything. Instead of saying, hey guys, calm down, we're all Beşiktaş fans, okay, you know, you may not agree with some things Hasan Abi has done, you may be, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, Tevfik Yaman-Türk was already the head of the Divan Kurulu at that point. He approved the economical reports and stuff like that. He has his responsibilities too. Like, what is this? What's he trying to do? What's he trying to achieve here?
He's probably trying to shift blame, right?
I got a message like an hour, like 45 minutes after, from a journalist in Norway asking me about what the fuck is going on. So this is something that is not just staying within the confines of Turkey. Like, people are taking notice to this. This is really painting the club in a really, really bad light. Because most people don't even understand the difference between the actual board of directors that run the club and the Divan Kurulu. They don't understand there's a segregation there. They don't understand that. Like, for them, it's all just one and the same. And it's absolutely incredible. And it's like the 3rd time or something that happens in recent years. Like, in one of our Congress meetings, it's absolutely unacceptable. Like,
it pissed me off on so many levels, and most of all, it's the one you said, that it suggests there's a lack of leadership, right? Someone should have stepped up and stood up and been like, children, like, settle down. This is not how we do this. Like, we're trying to have a serious meeting.
If Serdar Adalı would have done that, how much respect would he be getting right now from the fans?
From me, frankly, just because, like, dude.
But the fans, exactly. Like, how many? Like, look at our group chat afterwards. Like, it was like, everyone was like, "Oh, fuck this! This is not my Beşiktaş. This is not my club. This is not the club I fell in love with." And you see a lot of that online too. So there's a very big groundswell of Beşiktaş fans who just don't want to see this bullshit. So I think this is a golden opportunity that Serdar Adalı missed to really show that he is the right man to lead the club forward. He missed the opportunity. If anything, I think he didn't just miss an opportunity. To me, he kind of proves that he isn't the right man.
Yeah. And frankly, I think when you're talking about what Ole said, and I fully agree, that he sort of alluded to something like, if this is the guy to lead us there, whatever. But like, for me, that tinge of like doubt was entirely what we're talking about, which is, I think Ole was probably like, dude, why didn't he stop that? Or like, how I don't know if maybe I'm reading too much into it. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe we're going too far with the theory on that. But I mean, just from everything we've heard, right? Like, he's such a calm guy who wants professionalism. He wants to see the club sort of being built out from the bottom up.
We can't build on this. Yeah.
This is
like, the Divan Kurulu needs to, like, a new. I understand Tevfik Yaman-Türk is a very powerful man within the club. He's one of the richest guys in Turkey. So I understand that he's not somebody you want to oust, not somebody you want to step on his toes, maybe, because hopefully he will put his money in, or put the money in with a sponsorship or whatever. He will So I understand it's a difficult position for Samet Aybaba, but still, I think he should have said something, man. I think he should have stepped up. Like, even if only like, hey guys, take it outside, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he doesn't have to throw anyone under the bus in theory, but he has more power than anyone in that room to stop it. Right?
But also,
he's the one. He's the voice.
Sinan,
like guys.
Now you have people like, oh, I feel sorry for Hassan Arat and blah blah blah. Should be pointed out as well. Hassan Arat didn't do shit either when the same thing was happening.
When they were doing it to ANC,
Ahmed Nuchemi. So Hassan Arat, who was like calling out for Abdallah to do something, he's also a little bitch. Because like you didn't do shit either, man. Like so, like people are like, oh, you know, I feel sorry for Hassan Arat. No, he wouldn't have done something himself. Like I don't feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for the club because this is beneath the club and beneath what the president of the club should stand for and beneath what the club stands for. I don't feel sorry for Hassan Arat because fuck Hassan Arat, but I feel sorry for the football club and for the whole club as a whole. And the way this is now showing off, you know, how it's making the club look internationally. Cathal, you've been quiet. Let's hear your.
I think it's a disgrace that there was any kind of physical altercation at a club congress event. It's unacceptable. It just shouldn't be happening. I fully agree with you too that Sardar Adil should have intervened in some way, tried to stop it. He never. That's unacceptable as well, and it shows a lack of leadership. And also, I do find it strange. It feels like they didn't want Hassan Arat speaking. Like Hassan Arat failed as president of the club. Overall, you look at it, he done a terrible job, but maybe it makes you think that he was going to say some things that people didn't want to be heard.
Especially given what you said, Khan, about the guy being sort of linked to what we were doing at the time too, right? Like, well, it's almost like, did he not want to be outed as being involved in?
I believe, and maybe Carlito is in the chat, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the Divan Kurulu has to approve financial... The budget. I believe they have to approve the budget and stuff like that. So, like, you know, the budget that Khan Shakul made was approved by the Divan Kurulu, if I'm not mistaken. So, by Tevfik Yamanturk. So maybe, you know, so stuff like that. So, there is a certain amount of responsibility that they have as well for the current situation of the club. Because Tevfik Yamanturk... He needs to be, you know, he should have been aware of, oh, you know, there's going to be a cash flow issue down the road or something. Like, he's been at the club much longer than these people have. Like, the previous board, they were only there for like a year. You know, Tevfik Yamanturk has been in his seat for, I don't know how long. I feel like he's been there for a long time.
And look, there's another point here, which is that for people who are like, oh, he's too wealthy, you know, you can't displease someone like that. They're too important to, like... I mean, that's probably the logic Hassan Arat had for, like, not telling Hussein Yücel to shut up about, like, Mourinho and stuff. And he got a lot of criticism for that. So, like, we have to apply the same criticism in every case. Just because someone's wealthy doesn't mean that they shouldn't be open for criticism if they do something stupid in public. And I think Kartal is right about what he just said, in that, like, everyone, you can't make it so this guy can't talk and like explain himself or defend himself or whatever it might be. Yeah. Especially because we have so many questions about Hassan Arat and like what compelled him to make some of these decisions and do what he did. So like we should be for transparency, right? We should want to hear what he has to say. And then if he says something terrible at the end, you know, you come in with your words and you argue against it, you make your case, whatever it is. But if anything, it just looks like they're trying to hide, you know, and Khan, I'm not saying that they are, but it just looks, it opens up questions for people who are trying to make conspiracy theories about, because there already was a pretty good one around. I think you're going to talk about that, Kartal.
Yeah, it does kind of, because it was me that mentioned that in the group chat. I think the whole, there was a coup in the club thing, it makes you think that, especially those that are prone to believing conspiracy theories, it does open up speculation as to that is why they want to keep this guy quiet, because maybe he's going to say stuff, reveal some stuff that will confirm that, further the speculation that he was kind of sabotaged from within. Yeah.
But I think it's relatively easy to debunk that though, Kata, because if there was such a fear of him saying whatever, then
I think
he can easily just go on to École TV and do an interview, right? Like they're not going to be able to, if he really wants to talk, they're not going to be able to keep him quiet, right? Like
he might do though, because he said that he thought he'd save it for the club's own congress, but
the idea of keeping it in house.
Hassan Arad said that, I'm not saying this is what happened, but the fact that they didn't let him speak here maybe adds a wee bit of potential for what he's saying to be accurate, and that is, if we all can think back to when Hassan Arad was the president, he started to reveal that the previous boards had completely wasted the potential income that could be coming in from the real estate the club owns. We all remember that.
Yeah, I remember, of course.
It'd been rented out to acquaintances, friends and family of people who run the club for peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
And that real estate could have been yielding a lot more money for the club. Way
yeah,
more.
and I mean, there's clearly stuff that is being hidden because there was an assault on the club servers, and important information was stolen from the servers from the club's servers. So there's definitely a cover up of something. That is 100%. That's not even a conspiracy. That's just clear, because why otherwise would they hack the servers to steal certain files, delete certain files? Like, you don't just do that unless there's a cover up of something. So there's 100% something being covered up. That much is clear.
Yeah.
And this just adds smoke to the fire, or fire to the smoke, whatever it is. Like
what? So Hassan Arad said, as soon as I started mentioning this, they pressed the button to sabotage me. Okay, this could be complete bullshit, but it's quite plausible. You could argue.
But if that is true, Kartal, if that is the case, I would argue Hassan Arad is very guilty for staying quiet this long.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I'm not saying it's true. And it's still a fact that Hassan Arad ran things terribly. He gave too many people the biggest thing for me was giving Aybaba and Friedel the same job essentially, and then it felt chaos between those two. But he delegated too much, didn't take enough responsibility himself, and job roles weren't clear as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was too many people making the decisions where it should have been more streamlined, where people had their set areas where they control, and that'd be it. So I think Hassan had done a terrible job, but I think there might be truth about the real estate stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt.
Like he was looking to do some good work there, and then obviously just not long after that happened, he brought that to light. It started going tits up financially. Yeah. We heard, who knows, maybe there is some truth to that, but overall it's not going to change the fact that Hassan Arad failed terribly.
And Omer is also, making a good point there that, Arad was exposing a lot of shady stuff that Ahmet Nurçebi did, like Sinan also pointed out, and that now with Adale in power as the president, like, Ahmet Nurçebi is no longer persona non grata. Like, suddenly he's, now Hassan Arad is the big boogeyman, but Ahmet Nurçebi has done nothing wrong suddenly.
It felt like to us that Hassan Arad was going against. Oh, thank you, brother. Was going against the system, and he was like, he was going against the system, but it feels like very much Adel is part of the system. Of the machine.
Oh, 100, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a big reason why a lot of us backed Hassan Arad at the time, because he seemed like a guy that was going to change things, and because it's a poison system that we've had in this club the last 25 years. Yeah.
And
it's a
Carlito backs this up. He says, moreover, Adale asked if he can settle in the Fulya case. He's giving a way out to a company that's screwing us over. unless there's a legal reason to do so, why should we consider a settlement? And I think he's implicating, of course, Ahmet Nurchebi, right, in his decision in the first place. So
I think Adala's just trying to keep the powers that be happy. But I think in the long run, it's not going to benefit the club at all. These guys that he's cuddling up to are guys that have caused great harm to this club that we all love. So I really think he's doing the wrong thing. And hopefully, I don't think it will happen, but I'd like to see him in time distance himself from the likes of Yildirim Demirel and Ahmet Nurchebi. But unfortunately, I don't see that being the case. The only I think kind of positive thing for me just now is that if he actually lets like Edward Graf and John Vick do their jobs along with Ole. Other than that, I'm not too positive.
Yeah. I feel like with Adale, the thing you have to hope for is that he is going to. I think it's clear that he is too close to some people who have harmed the club, and that he wants to protect those people, or at least, I don't know if protect is the right word, but I think that much is clear. So I think what we need to hope for is that he is going to try to not ruffle any feathers, which, that is what he's doing. He's trying not to ruffle feathers. I think what we need to hope for is that on top of that, he is still going to try and make the club lean, run the club professionally, and that at the end of the day, these people stole from the club and he's gonna let it go. He's gonna let it slide, but that it doesn't matter anymore in 5 or in 10 years' time, because he will have made the club lean and self-sustainable, and that it won't matter anymore. But if in 10 years or in 5 or in 10 years we are still talking about Fulya and how much money we missed out on Fulya, and we're still in the same position we're in right now financially, then Sedal Adale is a traitor to the club, of course.
I think that's the way he spoke there, Karen. That was brilliant. It was a great point you made. I think maybe what's happened is he's seen what happened to Arat when he did ruffle those feathers, and maybe that's why he's going the opposite route. Time will tell though if that's effective. But I think I'm forgetting the phrase. You nailed it on the head. You hit the nail on the head. That's a phrase. You hit the nail on the head, Karen, with what you said. Time. If this is a successful approach and it makes the club self-sufficient, everything's running properly, we're doing well, and then this can be forgotten. It can be swept under the rug. But if we're still in this position in 5 years, we're still in that same position.
Yeah, right now as a club, we're in a position where the money that has been stolen from the club in the last 2 decades, we desperately need that money. If Sedal Adale can bring us to a point where that doesn't really matter that much anymore, because he has made us self-sustainable, then I think you can forgive him for giving them in order to keep the peace within the club, if that makes sense. But if he doesn't succeed in that, and he is just another one in a long list of failed presidents, then in 5 years or in 3.5 years or in 3 years, whatever, he's just gonna be seen as yet another person who's
an extension.
He's just gonna be seen as the Ahmet Nurchebi and Yildirim Demirel, right? Like he's just gonna, and I hope that Adale, with what he has done with the National Jockey Association and all that kind of stuff, I hope that he is going to bring that same mentality to the club. He's gonna make the club run a lot more efficiently, make it lean, like I said, trim the fat, professionalize it. That is something that he was credited for at the National Jockey Association, that he professionalized that institution. He really moved it into the new age, and that is something he needs to do with Beşiktaş, with the football club, and that is something we are seeing him doing. We are seeing him doing it with the scouting department, with the sporting director, all of that. And I don't think you can blame Sedal Adale for what this current team is doing. This is not his team, not his squad. He did not build this. You can criticize January But I think if you're realistic and you know the difficulties of January, I think it's more important for him to start building already for the future with bringing in guys like Elan, with bringing in guys like Kenny, rather than yet another short-term fix, bandage on a shotgun wound type of transfer. It's not the time for that. Beşiktaş do not have that luxury. And I know it's painful because we are having to sit through these 6 months of really not fun matches to watch, quite frankly. And next season, if we're being realistic, next season is probably not going to be great either. However, I think with 4 or 5 really good signings and then some good depth moves that fit the squad, I think we can have a fun season next season. That doesn't mean we're going to be challenging for the title. Ole said as much as well in his post-match press conference that it's not really realistic to expect us to challenge next season. Of course, we are going to try, but the gap is big. If you look at the squads that Fenerbahce and Galatasaray have, the good thing, the one advantage that we have is that Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, they have very good. They have squads, they have completer squads, but the good thing we have is that their transfer policies aren't great either. If you look at Galatasaray, they are still pulling success from a really good summer window 2 years ago. Because almost all the signings they have made since then have been busts.
Yeah.
Not all of them, obviously. There have been.
I would even
some good
say that they've shown a lot of the same mistakes that we've seen in Turkish football for like a decade. It's just that they've been buoyed by their own success, right? So because they're earning Champions League money and championship money and all that stuff, right? Like they can almost sort of afford to make those mistakes in a way that we can't, or even Fener obviously can't probably.
Mm-hmm.
I'll even go further. I think Galatasaray have had 2 good signings since after the first championship. One's Davinson Sanchez, the other one's Victor Osimhen. What other things worked out?
Yeah, maybe.
Davinson Sanchez, for sure.
But my point is, guys, that the gap is big, but it's not insurmountable because our rivals aren't being run very good either. Like Galatasaray isn't being run very good. Like they are just signing big names. There's just like they for example, like there's been 3 windows. When did Sacha Boey leave? When did
2 years ago.
January 2024.
So how many transfer windows have they had?
Right. 1.5.
2 full ones.
2 full ones. Well, and they've been trying to replace that, and they keep signing wing backs, but they keep playing a 4-man back line. So wing backs is something you utilize when you play 3 at the back. But they keep playing 4 at the back, and they keep signing wing backs, and they keep running into the same. They keep repeating the same mistakes. They are doing exactly what Ole said as well. Like we have, if you look at our squad, there's a lot of good football players there, but the squad we're put together, it doesn't make any sense. Like the puzzle pieces don't fit. Galatasaray are doing the same thing. Like their puzzle pieces don't always fit, but they have more money to work with. They bring in good quality. It in the league it's enough. In Europe they get exposed, but they aren't being. That is our advantage. Our rivals aren't running their clubs super lean, super efficiently. They're if you look at Fenerbahce, like their transfer policy, it's not fantastic either. I mean, they're signing some good players here and there, like some young, like they signed the young Serbian guy, which I think those types of moves, and like the Kim Min-jae transfers, those types of transfers have proven really good for them. Elif Elmas, but then they are also signing really old players. They're signing overpriced players like Enesiri. You can go on. So it's definitely not impossible for Beşiktaş to close the gap. It's not like you're fighting Liverpool and Manchester City, who have really good recruitment. That's not the case.
Even their B team is.
That is not the case. So we can close that gap, but it's not gonna just happen overnight. It's not just gonna happen in
especially
one
like
window.
Osimhen is leaving, right? Like, I fully agree. I think you have to consider that I would argue their model is like short term as well, right? Like
See,
they have a lot of older players.
I'd argue Icardi is better than Osimhen.
Yeah,
I mean, for them, he's a better goal.
But I'm glad they got Morata, though. I will say, because I don't think he's good as either one.
Anyway, it's like if we run the club efficiently, we can compete and beat them with less money and better recruitment. You can do that. Look at Dortmund. You know, obviously competing with Bayern Munich, that's different. But like a club like Dortmund is a club that operates on a far lower budget than the European giants. But look at how often they are in the quarter and in the semifinals of the Champions League.
Yeah.
You know, and they are there relatively consistently, and they
even the finals. Yeah.
Yeah, and they operate on a much smaller budget than most of the big European clubs. So it's not impossible for Beşiktaş to do that. But in order to do that, first and foremost, we need to smooth over, professionalize the club. Serdar Adalı has taken the first steps in that. He just needs to stick with it now. Hopefully, I think there will be no problem. He will be re-elected, and he has 3 years, and he can start building. And he needs to stick with it. Let's talk a little bit about the coach now, guys, because for me, there is no doubt for me at all about Ole. I know, Sinan, I don't think you have any doubt either. But Karla, we haven't heard your opinion in a while. Have you been getting any doubts about Ole, or do you still think that he's the right man for the job?
Okay, I think if it was up to me, I wouldn't have sacked Giovanni Van Bronckhorst either. So I think we've sacked coach after coach, and we've seen that the team's not gotten any better. So I think we need to stick it out with a coach and see where a project goes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main thing.
We keep changing coaches like we're changing our underwear, man, and it's not gotten us anywhere. Have we seen any improvement over the last 2 seasons almost?
I have a lot more faith in Ole than in Gio, though. I feel. I think Ole has way bigger balls. He is way more gutsy. Like what he did against Galatasaray, that required some massive cojones. I don't think he's somebody. I'm not afraid with Ole that we're gonna have an Ajax game. You know what I mean? I don't think that's gonna happen with Ole.
At the same time, though, Gio's points per game is actually superior, but you could put that down to the teams weaker now, considering
Gio had a summer. Gio,
and also it's like it's a lot harder coming into a struggling team than it is taking over a team in the start of the season.
Exactly. And
how'd you get emojis to work in the chat? Sorry, this is so off topic, but I just saw someone's emoji. I was like, whoa, I don't think I've ever seen an emoji in the chat before.
I didn't do anything, so that must have been an update on
auto update. Yeah. That's cool.
For me, and I've been getting the question from Norway a couple of times now. I feel like they're a little nervous because Turkey is Turkey. But for me, like Ole is not not a question mark at all. For me, it's 100% keep going the course with Ole. I don't know if you guys.
Okay, time out. So let me reframe this. I'm 100% for keeping Ole, like fairly long term even. That said, I do have some criticisms. I mean,
of course.
The question is, do we have any criticisms?
I had criticisms.
I'm not fond of some of his subs. Of course, no, yeah, and that's the thing. Exactly. Every manager is going to do things slightly differently than how you imagine they should or whatever, right? And so, but for example, I'm not fond of some of his subs. I think he always takes out João Mario too fast. He didn't even start his last match.
And that's me. I think see that good stretch of 6 games in a row that we won. João Mario was about the key player in that run.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
He keeps taking.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've talked about that in recent weeks. Of course, there's plenty to talk about and to decisions that we maybe not agree with. But if
nitpicking.
But if you also look at the things he says, and I know Fernando Santos, he said the right things as well, but I feel like Ole goes further and goes deeper. I think the observations he is making are really astute, clear. He doesn't bullshit. He tells it how it is. and like just the point that he's like, okay, like this isn't, and he's 100% right, because if you look at our squad, that is not a squad that should be ending outside of the top 3. That is a squad that should always be finishing top 3 in Turkey. Samsunspor has no business being ahead of that team, of that squad. Başakşehir have no business at beating that squad. You know, like all that. The squad on paper is good, but the problem is like it's a bunch of puzzle pieces. Like it's like if you take 4 puzzles and you take like 50% of the pieces out of each box, and then you put all of them together, and then you're like, hey, go ahead and make a puzzle. That's what this team is. It makes no sense. Like there's so many players in there that don't fit. There's missing pieces because you don't have certain things. Like on paper, like if you take a look at, like, let's have a look at this lineup. And obviously it's not the best lineup, but like obviously it's not the best lineup, but you know, Rashica.
We have half a winger.
Rashica on paper is a decent player, right? Not a great player.
Half a winger.
Yeah, he's decent. Then you have who do you have here? You have Rafa. He's one of the best players he's the best player in Turkey, I would say. Mucci is a quality player.
Out of position, but good.
You have Chamberlain, who, okay, I know.
Way out of position.
And then Gabriel Paulista, Mert, who else do you have? Svensson, Masuaku. Like, individually speaking, these aren't bad players. You know? But some of them just don't fit. Like, having Masuaku, for example, when you don't have a decent striker, 190, that can head the ball, it makes no sense. It doesn't.
I mean, not to mention Masuaku is sort of a wing back too, right? And so
also
he doesn't quite fit what we're trying to do in the larger scheme, in the grand scheme too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Before he came to Beşiktaş, he was a left wing back.
Yeah.
Wasn't a left back. Played in teams that played with a back 3.
Yeah, we brought him in for Valérian's 3-man backline system, right?
And in those situations, it has switching off in defence, like that can be accepted more because
you've got 3 guys back there. Yeah,
you're essentially a winger with some defensive responsibilities. It's a big difference to playing as an actual fullback, like Svensson. You know, but that's also part of the issue, right? Like we have always played 4-2-3-1 since I don't know, for 15 years at least, 4-2-3-1, and then suddenly we brought in a coach with no resume to play 3 at the back. And then
we said, no, you can't do that.
I'm not against playing 3 at the back. I'm not against it. But I think if you're gonna do that, first and foremost, you need to see what do you have already. Does my squad facilitate that? If the answer is yes, okay, then you can do that. But if your squad doesn't facilitate that, then don't bring in a coach.
Someone who plays that way. Exactly.
No. Don't bring in a coach with no resume who realistically probably doesn't have the best chance of staying for a longer period of time. Bring in a bunch of players to fit that system specifically, and then after 2 weeks say, no, you can't play 3 at the back, you need to play 4 at the back. Like, it doesn't...
Yeah, and then you sack that coach and bring in other coaches, but then a lot of that team that was built for that 3 at the back coach is still here, and that's why we have the problems. That's why we have a transition team. Like, even Jetson Fernandez isn't the typical number 8 of a team that's going to hold the ball a lot and dictate the play. And like, Jetson Fernandez is a transitional team player that's suited to that transitional game as well. Like, and again, he was brought in that. Well, technically, he was actually signed before Valérien Ismail was signed, but I think a big part of the reason he came in was because he impressed at Galatasaray, and we wanted to get one over them as well. I mean, not that Jesson's a bad player at all, man. Like, I think there's a difference between a bad player and just maybe not perfectly suited to the type of football you want to play. I think there's 2 different things. We've seen plenty of good things from Jetson this season, especially. He scored a lot of goals. I think in an ideal world, you want a number 8 that's better at passing the ball about and dictating the play.
Yeah, but you are also still stuck in 2015 thinking with the way that you think we should be playing. You think we need to be playing with Oğuzhan Uzyaku Portalgay. You know, like it's.
I think that you can sign a combative, someone that's got more physicality than also someone that's a decent passer as well.
But if you look at some of the top teams in the world right now, like for example McAllister, that's a similar type of player to Jetson. You know, like I don't think a lot of top teams are playing with Oğuzhan type players at the moment. I think there's a lot more Jetson types in world football today. I don't think that Jetson is the problem. I think the problem is that I think a lot of other players are the problem. And I think that we as fans, a lot of us are kind of stuck in 2015, 2016, 2017 with what worked then. But we need to keep in mind, football is an ever-evolving sport and things change. And what worked in 2015 doesn't necessarily work in 2025. Just like how things that worked in 2000 didn't necessarily work in 2010. You know what I mean? And it keeps changing like that. So you're looking at the prototypical number 8, the really good passer, creative, can score a goal. And you know, I like that too. Don't get me wrong. But I think you're seeing a lot less of that in today's football. You're seeing a lot more emphasis being put on running, a lot more emphasis being put at like the whole Pep transformation. Like Pep plays a lot with players that are very disciplined and play in a certain way, and he takes, like, a lot of people criticize it, like he takes a lot of the fun out of football because frivolous players on the wings, he takes like their brilliance away almost, because he is so set in them playing in a certain way and doing certain tasks. And you know, I think football has evolved, and not necessarily in a good way, a lot in that manner, and it leaves less room for that sort of footballer, like a Salih Uçan, for example, who is more that type, I would argue. But I don't think Jetson's the problem. I think people look at Jetson and they see the things that he doesn't do very well, but they don't really appreciate the things that he does really well. And the problem...
He does things very well, but in a game where the opposition's sitting in a low block, Jetson's not going to do much in those games.
I've said this before.
Guys, you know what? I want to make a point. I want to jump in here into this conversation because, you know, one of the things about modern football, which I've been noticing more as I watch other leagues increasingly, is the value of depth has evolved in such a way in the last 5, especially I guess it was COVID, right, when they started doing the 5 sub rule, which was now, I guess, about 5 years ago. And the way that's impacted the game, right, where you have 5 subs, and so your subs become tactical, and you have guys who fit in. So, like, you might have a player in the mold of what you're talking about, Cartel, like the sort of traditional 8, and there's a moment in a game where you need someone who can come in and pull those strings, and so you'll bring that guy in, and you'll take out someone else who's more tired because he's been pressing more. But so, like, it seems that the name of the game these days is variability and flexibility. And so I actually think the biggest problem we have, more than individual players, certainly more than like the coach that we, you know, I forget which one of you said we change him like underwear, but that's exactly right. It's that we're not making the effort to build out a complete team, right? And you need enough players that you can look differently at different times, right? And so having like a guy who can play a position off the bench isn't quite it, right? And that's where, like, Onur Bulut, he's a right back, sure, but you know, someone was like, you know, you needed someone who's more of a natural defender. He's not naturally good at defending or naturally good at.
He's not naturally good at anything.
Exactly, right? Like you know, it's not enough to just have a sub. You need variability and tactical sort of flexibility, and I think that's where subs, like, we just don't have even close to the complete team we need to. Like, even our rivals have done a much better job of, relegating guys to the bench, but they're still useful players who can come in and impact the game, right?
Yeah, but like for example, like Ivan Jankovic is a 10 million euro bench warmer, right? Like we don't have that.
Or Talisca lately, or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or whatever. Like they have like Fenerbahce have like multiple 10 million euro players on the bench. Galatasaray too.
Yeah,
like they have that luxury of having really expensive bench players, bench warmers. Yeah. We don't have that luxury.
Batshuayi, 4 strikers. Yeah, no, and that's where I think, like having scouts in this more modern approach that we're trying to employ is so valuable, right? Because we can simulate that without. I mean, in a way, it's stupid to spend that much money on guys who are going to be mostly playing the bench, and you can have talent that's not at that level, reputationally speaking, but who can come in and impact the game, and that's where having guys like
Yusuf Sarı,
Yusuf Sarı,
that is why I have been clamoring for us to sign him for so many years, because he is that type of player. He isn't necessarily a starting material player for Beşiktaş, but he is someone that you can bring off on the bench, from the bench, and he can have an impact because he has speed, he has dribbling.
And with this team, he'd probably start.
Yeah, he would. He's better than Rashica. I think somebody mentioned it earlier in the chat. He is legitimately better than Rashica, and that is the thing. Like Rashica would be an okay player for us if he was on the bench, and if we had.
Do you guys not think that Rashica is also a transitional player as well, and is also useless almost when we've got the opposition?
He's too slow to be a transitional player.
I've come to there.
He's quite. For example, see when we're on the break,
he kills almost all your counter-attacking opportunities because he's slow as fuck.
Yeah, but I think like what he is quite good at is like see when just getting the ball and quickly passing it at times. He can be useful in that regard. In the build-up.
I think he's shit, honestly.
I'll say this. I think Rashica might be a right wing back with the 3-man back line or something.
The only way I would keep Rashica is if he had a Turkish passport. Otherwise, like if I had the luxury of just cleaning house, he would be one of the first, like him, Onur Bulut, Ox obviously, Salih, like those would all be on the top of my list of players that I would fuck off straight away. Because Rashica, to me, like I keep calling him decent, but that's like on paper. But I think he's so bad, and that's one of the things I don't like about what Ole has been saying recently. Like he's been praising Rashica. Oh, against Kasımpaşa when Rashica came on, he was brilliant. It's like, Ole, I know you have to be politically correct, but like please don't. Like that to me, that's like. There's a difference between being politically correct as a manager and not wanting to, put your players down. No, you don't want to put your players down because you still...
you don't want to impact them around.
Yeah, there's 7 more games in the season. You need those players for 7 more games. So obviously you're not going to say he's the drizzling shits. But I do think you can not insult the intelligence of the audience by saying, I think he was brilliant. No, he wasn't fucking brilliant. He was adequate at best, but he is not good enough for Beşiktaş. He's not a Beşiktaş material level. He's not a Beşiktash level player, And that's one of the things what I wanted to get to before, Katel. And we've had this argument before, but I think the big issue with Jetson is when we are in these situations, and we've been finding ourselves in these situations for the last 3 seasons, we are looking for Jetson to do things that we shouldn't be needing him to do. Like, but he is also, like, was it against Kasımpaşa? I think it was against Kasımpaşa. Like, he's always the one when we're on the ropes. He is one of the few players that's always stepping up, always taking initiative. And then he starts trying to do stuff he probably shouldn't be doing. But that's because other people aren't taking responsibility. I don't know if you noticed it, but when Kenny came on, at a certain point, I think it was, I don't know if it was Rafa or it was João Mario, I don't remember who it was, but like they gave Kenny the ball on the left and Kenny didn't have any space. There was like 3 defenders around him. So he passed the ball back and he got it straight back. He passed it back, got it straight back again. And he keeps getting it back from players who are 10 years his senior, who should be taking responsibility. And they're like, now let the 19-year-old kid try something. And I see a glaring lack of leadership, a glaring lack of stepping up.
Yeah.
And one of the few players that always steps up is Jetson. And I feel like he gets hate because of it, because he doesn't have those specific qualities to take the match by the scruff of its neck and to turn things around. That's not what Jetson's good at. But you gotta commend him for trying at least. Like, who stepped up last week in the 90th minute when we had to take a penalty and all the penalty takers were from the pitch? No Chiro, no Joao Mario on the pitch. Who stepped up? Jetson steps up. You know? And yeah, I understand where you're coming from. He lacks certain abilities. And I would, if you know, tomorrow somebody puts big money on the table for him, I would not be against selling him at all. But he is, from the current squad, one of the very few players I would keep to build around. I'm not saying he has to stay, but he's one of the players I'd keep at least. And like the majority of the squad.
You not think if we had a different profile to play in the majority of the league games, you could be better off?
No, because we don't have a striker and we don't have wingers.
Let's say you've got like a different number 8. You've got a striker and you've got a couple of
but that's not fair. Now you're changing half the team. Now you're changing what's wrong with the team.
I still think, man, like in terms of like Jason Fernandez, man, he's not a number 8 that's suited for these types of games.
I think if we had Onuachu instead of Ciro Immobile, we would be looking at a very different season. Only that one change, we would be looking at a very different season right now. Because Onuachu,
I would add, I think the winger is maybe.
No, you don't even
still need a winger.
You don't even need a great winger because he's so tall, he's so dominant in the air. Masuaku's crosses would be getting utilized more. Rasicka's shitty crosses would be getting utilized more. You'd have a focal point in the box somewhere, to put the ball. Now they're putting the ball, but there's nobody to get on the end of them. They're crossing aimlessly because both Masuaku and Rasicka, they know I can put it at the second post, I can put it at the first post, but there's nobody's gonna be there because we don't have those players. That one change would make the difference between us now struggling for third and having to watch out that we don't lose fourth to us comfortably ending in third, I think. And then you don't even have a great squad yet, and you still have the same issues we have right now with the wingers and with the fullbacks and blah, blah, blah, blah, blah. But that one change, a fit on Onuachu would make a world of a difference already, I think, for us.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly have won us a few more points for sure. By the way, so should we do stats on this match, guys, real quick, or do I do the comments? Let's do stats real quick. Let's wrap this whole thing up because I mean the stats are sort of illuminating in a way, at least as far as backing up how we all sort of agreed that we didn't deserve to lose this one. Certainly not the way we did by 2 goals. Anyway, Beşiktaş had 56% of the ball to their 44%. We had an XG of 0.84 to their 0.6. 12 shots to their 8. They had 4 on target to our 3. 1 big chance. We didn't have any. They missed their 1 big chance. That was the save. By merit, obviously.
We didn't have any.
I mean, I'm surprised that. When Sally dribbled into the box and then Rashica had basically a 1-on-1 shot in the box, I'm very surprised that didn't get counted.
How is Paulista's header not a big
or the
chance?
Header? Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's a scored goal. That's a goal that he taps out. How is that not a big chance?
That's weird.
That makes no
sense.
sense.
There's 2 right there that seem like very obvious big chances. So
and that's from close range, like so.
Yeah. No, the Rashica one too, right? He was like in the small box of the penalty, and he got like if he just puts a little power on that with the outside of his foot, that's in the back of the net. Yeah. Accurate passes, Beşiktaş had 387 to their 295, completed at an 84% rate to their 81. We committed 16 fouls to their 12, which is kind of bullshit, honestly. 4 offsides for them to our none. They had 6 corners to our 3. Cartel, how about them duels?
Jules, 41 won for us, which was 44%. They won 56%. They won 52%. Ground duels, it was 39-29 in their favour. They won 57% of them. Aerial duels, it was 13-12 in their favour. They won 52% of them. Successful dribbles, so we had a very low success rate of 38%. We had 8 successful, so that tells you maybe we tried 21. They had 5 successful dribbles at a 42% success rate, so that tells you they maybe tried 11 or 12.
They didn't get a single yellow card. That's some proper bullshit as well, by the way.
For us, none for them, and then 0 red cards.
Yeah, I thought Jihan Aydin was yeah. Anyway, but Kata, to come back to your point from before, so do you really think that if you switch Jetson with the style of number 8 that you prefer, that we would be in a different place right now? Just that one switch, and don't switch the wingers, don't switch the striker.
I think with a number 8, I've never once used the Ulsan, because I think in modern football you need a player that's got a bit of an engine, which Ulsan lacks. Mm-hmm. So I always say more like Tolga Arslan, where maybe like 75% of the passer that Ulsan is, but also like has dribbling ability, can carry the ball. Maybe like 70% of the engine that Jedson's got. I think a guy like that that's consistent, obviously not Tolga Arslan himself, because he's inconsistent. Yes, I think a guy like that makes a difference in this team, because when you're playing against low blocks, a guy like that can carve open defences, because he's got the dribbling threat, and he's got a decent shot as well. He's a passing threat as well. I think it does make a fair. I think we're going to compete for titles with that one change, of course not. But I think that one change is necessary.
But isn't that what Salih Uçan and Oxlade-Chamberlain are? Aren't they that type of player?
Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think, is very inconsistent. Salih Uçan, again, very, very extremely inconsistent. And Salih Uçan's not got an engine at all. I wouldn't describe him as someone with an engine. And Ox just took it. Like remember last season, when Ox first came, at times he was very, very good. At other games, he was like a fucking ghost. So it needs to be someone that's going to be consistent, that's going to bring that in 7 out of 10 games. Oxlade-Chamberlain doesn't bring it in 7 out of 10 games to that level.
But Jetson brings his A game every game.
Yeah, he does but he's a very bad passer of the ball. I don't think the fact that he's not developed that in the 3 years he's been with us, I don't think he's ever going to develop it. I mean, if Jetson passed the ball as well, he'd be in a top 5 league. That's the only reason he's playing for Beşiktaş.
Yeah, but
he's got all the physical attributes.
But you'd be replacing one of the most consistent players in the team. We have so many other players that need replacing.
It wouldn't be the first replacement. It wouldn't be, but I think that's another one that's necessary for us to break down these types of opponents. I think, see if you can keep Jedson and play him against your Lyons and your Bilbaos and your derbies and stuff like that against Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. I think he's a very, very, very, very useful player to have in these situations. But I think as long as we have a number 8 that is very, very as poor as passing the ball as he is, I think we are going to struggle to a degree against these Anadolu teams, man.
I don't agree. I think there's plenty of positions that you can. I think there's plenty of other positions where you can have players that can unlock a match. It doesn't need to be your number 8. And I think Jetson moving off the ball is a big threat. We saw that at the beginning of the season. He scored 8 or 9 goals this season. And you can see when the team is functioning, that he is a very good end station to get on the end of some of those fluid attacks. So I just think if you can build a more cohesive unit around him, I don't see a reason why he can't be good in these types of matches and against these types of opponents. Let's bring it to the tiebreaker. Sina, what do you think? And in the comments, of course, let us know if you agree with Kartal or with me or with Sina.
Oh boy, I don't want to weigh in on this one. No, I mean I love Jedson, to be honest. I do feel that his deficiencies require us to do a very careful job of scouting for whoever will play with him in that midfield. And I think we've sort of swung and missed a couple times on that. I do actually think Masuaku was a pretty good partner, like on paper, as far as what he provides, and he could perfectly offset some of those deficiencies, right? If that's the problem, right? If he could only defend better, but like his ability to like get the ball and then ping it up, right? He provided a lot of cover. For
I think
that
the issue with those two guys is that you have two players that had deficiencies that required another player to cover up. I think it's fine to have one of those players in your midfield tree, but having two of them is probably too much.
Well, and there's another side of it too, Con, which is that where Al-Musrati really shined was like he would send these beautiful passes down the wings, which could then theoretically result in chances if we had a winger to receive the ball and then create a chance, right? But that just hasn't been the case for a minute now. So it's I mean, you keep. That's the problem when you're doing this sort of analysis. You're like, okay, this guy, we can replace him with that, and then he, okay, then we also have to replace that over there, and then there's like a little bit over here that so you end up there's so many little holes all over the team that it's almost counterproductive, I think, to put so much blame on a single individual.
Yeah, I'm not saying Jedson's the reason we're in this situation, but
but Cartel, in your defense, I think it even applies to Ciro Immobile in a way that, like, of course, Onuachu would have be a better option.
That's just my go-to. But, I mean, like,
of course,
you can name.
No, I guess that's my point. Is that for me, I guess there isn't a single player that I'd replace that would immediately raise the level.
We need 2 fullbacks, 2 wingers. This is for the starting 11.
For me, the wingers is really where it's them.
This is for the starting 11. We need 2 fullbacks, 2 wingers, a striker, and then after that, I'd say get a number 8 as well. And we need a right centre back.
But I think you need to. Kenny needs to be one of those 2 wingers, and Elan Ricardo needs to be somebody in the midfield. Like next season, he needs to be and that's one
at
of those,
least a rotation piece.
I think right now Ole needs to go into prep for next season mode, and he needs to stop. He needs to start giving more time to these guys. Like Kenny,
especially Kenny, man. Kenny should like.
Yeah, I understand he's protecting the young players, but at the same time, like he needs to be getting minutes, and he needs to be getting. And I know it's a double-edged sword because you could burn him and bring him too early, but I also think that like if you want him to be ready next season and to be one of those 2 wingers, you need to start putting him in now. And if you want Elan Ricardo to be, part of your midfield tree next season, I think you need to start bringing him now.
Yeah, we need a 6 as well if Moustrati's been sold as well, but.
Yeah, but that's Ricardo, right? Like,
But the thing is, though, Cam, do you think it's realistic that a player that's not had 1 minute yet is going to be our starting 6 next season?
That's why I think you've got to at least make him a rotation player.
There's been circumstances, right? Like he's been ill, he's been sick, now he's injured.
Yeah, but I think he wasn't ill for so long that's why he was out the full time and got 0 minutes. I think there are other reasons for that.
Well, Ole has said that he's a good player, he's talented, but he isn't ready yet. He said that like he needs to work hard and he needs to get to the required level.
The 11 player for next season.
He needs to get, he needs to make those steps. That's the thing with young players. They need to take steps. They need to develop, and sometimes you need to do that relatively short amount of time. But that's also why I said kids like this, like Kenny, like Elan, they might need 6 months, they might need 12 months. They aren't always going to hit the ground running, but that also doesn't mean that you can't not. You still have to give them time and play them. Like you can't just.
Of course. No, they have to play. They have to play.
Otherwise, they're not going to develop.
I would say. It could make sense to at least as an insurance policy have another player in that position. Just if Elan needs another, a season to sort of ingratiate himself to the point where he's like reliable as a starter for, if that's the case, that's fine. I've said on the record that I feel like it's okay to have a couple foreigners on the bench if they're young and they have the potential to develop. And I think, Elan could fit that mold. I mean, it's worth noting Al-Musrati has been relegated to the bench now for Monaco, so he could actually come back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's one thing that, and maybe to circle all the way back to what Ole said in that press conference, we're going to have to make a lot of changes. We need a lot right now. And
that's the thing, right? Like in the media, they're talking about 4 to 5 transfers, and I hope to God that by 4 to 5 transfers they mean 4 to 5
to the starting.
That's what I
exactly.
hope. Because if they mean if 4 to 5 transfers, that's it. Then we're gonna have a horrible season next season. Then the season's gonna be terrible. Sure. Because that would first and foremost imply that a lot of the dead weight that needs to go is staying, because otherwise you don't have a squad. That would imply maybe yet another season of Onur Bulut. I read another post today of Onur Bulut asked multiple times to leave. Well, let them fucking leave, man. Fuck off,
please.
Piece of shit, seriously. Garbage player. I mean, not as a human being. Onur, if you're watching this, I don't have anything against you as a person, but you're fucking the drizzling shits, mate. Just play a youth player. Play an academy player. Cannot be worse. Cannot be worse. Like,
that's why I like that we saw Ox playing at right back. Like, it seems like at least Ole has recognized that Onur Bulut but you have to sort of avoid playing him at any cost. He
brings him on, though. He could have brought Arda on instead. Like, he could have done that.
Yeah, his subs I don't like. I
understand.
I'm still like yeah, exactly. And again, when we have players that are of the quality that we need, and he's not playing them, and he plays Onur, like, then we can criticize. But like we just
certain
have
coaches before him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we just have these gaping holes right now in the roster that it's.
But also,
it's hard
I understand where Ole is coming from, where there's this is probably not the right time to bring young players. You don't want to burn them too early, or you don't want to burn them by putting them into a very difficult scenario, difficult situation. On the other hand, like, if you
could it be worse?
If we don't overhaul the roster, the squad, significantly next season, then either you'll be left with a lot of the bad players in the squad, and those exist too, Ole. Like, I know you said these aren't bad players, but there's some really bad players. Like, Onur Bulut, and of course I am looking at it from a Beşiktaş perspective. I think from a Beşiktaş perspective, Onur Bulut is a terrible player. If you look at it from a Kayserispor perspective, different story, But for Beşiktaş, he is the drizzling shits. So, when you look at it from that scenario, unless there's a massive overhaul in the summer, which we all hope, but I don't know how realistic that is. Of course, now if this capital injection is successful and we clear most of the debt, then a lot of things are possible in the summer. But that's a big if.
Huge if.
And also, I say a lot of things are possible in the summer. It's not because you clear 240 million debt that you then suddenly should go invest 100 million, because then in 5 years we're in the same position we're in right now. We still need to stay within our budget. The difference is we had 97 million income last season, and 50% of that went to the banks. So if we can clear the bank debt, then theoretically we should have 50 million more to spend on the squad, on the team or whatever, on the club.
Here's a good macro level point to be excited about, I guess. Ole is playing everyone and making it look on paper like everyone has a role to play with the club, to the extent that we could at least be hopefully closer to that period where we're not just giving players away, where we can actually sell players. Now, Onur Bulut's probably not going to go for much.
Or at the very least,
maybe
they'll take players like an Oxlade-Chamberlain without us having to pay him 2 million to fuck off. You know,
Exactly.
he's
Like there might actually be
Yeah.
someone who wants him to play for them.
Yeah, I still think we'll be left having to pay Ox. Although,
For a
I mean,
couple, yeah.
you know, I mean, he has 1 year left on his contract, and how much is he earning, guys? Is it 3 or 3.5?
3.
3. So
3. I think it's 3.
So maybe
it's not impossible.
Maybe there's a club in England that says we'll give you a 2-year contract for 3 million, and he'll say, okay, I'll take it. I don't know.
It's maybe not. At least it's not impossible now, right? And so
Maybe.
that's
I mean,
something he's done about. And again, right? We're talking about like Onur and Ox are the two leftovers from that era,
Yeah,
right?
but
But like
Onur-
everybody else could be sold. Rashica could probably make us maybe a little money somehow.
No.
Not a lot, but
You need to keep in mind Rashica is making 2 million a year. Like who's gonna pay a fee and take that heavy wage? Like, and he has like 2.
I'm trying to think. Did he have a good game in Europe this year?
No.
Like maybe
Well,
there's some club.
yes,
that's
he
like,
had a good
there's
game
some
against
winger.
Athletic Club.
He's only
But,
27.
Did he sign a 4-year contract? So I think he has 2 more years, right? I think he has a contract
Sounds about
until
right.
27 or something. So I don't know, but like unfortunately, Rashica is not somebody I think who will be leaving. I think he will be staying.
Yeah. But anyway, but the point being, he's not gonna we're not gonna have to pay him to leave, right? Like, so at least we're getting past that phase where we had just dead weight in every corner. Maybe hopefully that.
Rashica is one of those players who I think we're stuck with him until his contract expires.
Yeah. No, I mean there's a few dead contracts that were.
I mean, at least
Tayyip Talha, maybe.
Yeah, at least you can. Yeah, Tayyip Talha. Yeah, I think Tayyip Talha there will be clubs who will want to take him on loan. Onur, I'm sure, you know, Onur, there's plenty of clubs that want him. You know, Başakşehir really wanted him in January. I think it was January, right? So, like, Onur won't be difficult. Like, he's not on a ridiculous wage. There will be clubs who want him. That's not a problem. Masuaku's contract.
Something is off with your mic, Khan. They say.
Okay. Maybe
2.0 says something is off with Khan 1.0's mic.
Maybe it was too far away or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything personally. But...
Yeah.
Should we do some comments, guys? Should we hit up the chat?
Let's pick out the good ones that we haven't talked about yet, and then start winding down. And
yeah, it's probably time. Mario Vargas, what's up? What's going on, dude? Said hello to us all. He said that Adana Demirspor is getting their asses handed to them by Eyüp. They're 6-0. Wow. And then I'm gonna skip because he later says we're now in 5th place, guys. To which I say, Mario, don't worry that we do have the game in hand still. Which, I mean, we've said that before. We'll see where that goes.
Who are we playing on the weekend? Isn't it Göztepe? Away?
Yeah, on the road, no less. Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, the way the team is going right now.
But Khan, we had a great first half against Göztepe before Tayyip Talha decided to ship it. So maybe we could simulate those 30 minutes.
The way the momentum is going right now, we are not going to.
I know.
We're going to lose 4th place. The way it's going at the moment. That's just, you know.
Yeah. If we play the way we play against Başakşehir, we'll lose the rest of the season.
It's like the momentum of last season, you know. Like we were in European spots until the last match day, and then we dropped to 7th or something. So
yeah,
I think
and we're currently in 5th, but with a game in hand.
I think there's a realistic chance that we don't get European football next season. I hope I'm wrong, but the way the pendulum is swinging right now, it's not looking good.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're still theoretically, if we win that game in hand, level with Samson on points and above Eyüp, but you can't write any of these games off as a guaranteed W's these days. Anyway, Carlito mentions that the full squad is back for the us hosts, our beacon of light in dark Beşiktaş times. Thank you for that.
Oh, okay.
The three of us hosts.
I'll put Cattle on the screen so people can admire him.
See his face, yeah. Yusuf says we need. I know, yeah. Especially Yusuf, man. I'm surprised we didn't get any comments about how handsome you are today, Coach. He said we need 9 new 11 players, though. And then Emir Can, I mentioned he was asking about academy players. I think we addressed that. Nobody came back at me with that, so I guess we
talked about
they gave that talking point up. I hate this ridiculous irony that Beşiktaş fans are proud of their reputation as fantastic fans, but then turn on their players so viciously. Remember when Mucci was getting booed for no reason? It's toxic. Yeah,
100%.
It's despicable. Yeah. Frankly, it's trash. There's no boo once you have something to say.
You know what?
And then support your damn players.
It's one of those things, right? Like Beşiktaş fans have I grew up with Beşiktaş fans being known as being like the best fans in Turkey at least, and arguably one of the best fans in the world. And it's like now, like the last, I don't know how long has it been, like decade, let's call it a decade. Like I understand tickets are expensive, and I understand that it's not maybe when the team is this bad. It's like in the 2000s, like when I started watching in the late 90s, like it didn't matter, man. The stadium was always full. Well, not maybe full, but like almost full, and the fans were always behind the team, and not always behind the team. Like there were moments where they, turn on the team as well, but like I don't know, it just feels like nowadays it's like either when we're in this type of a period, the stadium's half empty, and then the people that do show up boo the wrong people, and they turn on the team. Like I understand this match afterwards you're not happy, but we just said it as well. Like we didn't deserve to lose this match, and I think up until the goal, we were the ones knocking on the door, and their goal kind of came out of nowhere at that point in the match, and it's like
it did.
I feel like the team needs support in the moment like that, not for the crowd to turn on them.
We turn on them, start booing. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
They're already having a really difficult time with these mental setbacks in these types of matches, and then you have your home crowd turning on you on top of that.
And you got all these young kids out there like Mustafa and Kenny. Like, come on, guys! Like, it's exactly the opposite of what these kids need.
Exactly.
They want to feel like they're playing for a big club, and that they've got support.
Yeah. So I mean, I used to genuinely think we had some of the best fans in the world. I haven't thought that in a while. Honestly, I haven't thought that in many years. I think our fans are average at this point.
Nah, come on, man! Don't go that.
No.
We still have a very good atmosphere compared to most clubs.
I know. I mean, obviously, that's still amazing, but they how the players they accuse the players of picking and choosing their matches. Cartel fans do the same thing.
Yeah.
So the fans are no better than the players. They're just.
I think that's a bit.
Actually, the fans are kind of worse than that.
I think that's kind of happened all over Europe, though. It's in terms of
that's.
As football's became more commercial,
corporate.
I think in Germany it's not like that, and I think in certain clubs still. I don't fully agree with that. I think it's you're right to an extent, but there's definitely still.
You guys are both right in this one.
Yeah, there's still a lot of clubs who still have very, very loyal fans who support the teams through thick and thin. And our fans aren't the same as they were 20 years ago. I'll just put it that way. I think we have lost a lot of magic.
Yeah.
I think you guys are both right, and I think there's even you guys are almost supporting each other without recognizing it. But Cartel's right that there's a general movement away from fanaticism and a more corporate environment. There's more money and all that.
I don't know if I would say that, because I think people are just as. I mean, I still see people being extremely fanatic. Look at our community.
I just mean at the macro level, right? Think about how the leagues are even trying to stamp down on that more, and they've sort of, there's more processes. Before you got to give the away fans, they have to stay up in their stands for a while so their other fans can leave, which is in a sense good, right? It's to minimize some of the negative aspects of fandom.
Yeah, maybe the people who create the atmosphere, the best atmospheres, are lower income.
They are. Well, that's true, but see, like what you're describing with us, Can, it's no different to Galatasaray or Fenerbahce as well. It's
Yeah, but I'm not saying that, Katla, I'm not saying they have better fans. Huh? I'm saying,
Yeah,
but I don't think you can still make the
so-
argument. But before, I think you could make the argument, our fans can rival like Boca Juniors, River Plate. I don't think you can argue that anymore.
No, you can't. You're right about that, but we're still far from average. Like
No, yeah, but
Well,
I mean, when I say
better fans-
average, I mean,
any club in the Premier League, we've got much better fans than most clubs in Europe still. Like, obviously, someone that's been born and raised in the UK, like our fans have still got a great reputation. Well, not the same as we were 20 years ago, but even Celtic here, like Celtic fans will say, "Oh, our fans only the stadium is full every game, but they only really make that special atmosphere for the European
but
nights." And
that's culture, though. That's culture,
But
though, Katal.
it never used to be that way. That's what they say as well. Like they say the fans aren't the same as they used to be. That's what I mean. Is that's more of a that's
yeah,
my global
but that's
thing.
because of this. That's because of this. Cell phones. People are sitting on their asses, sitting on their cell phones, making videos. Like if you watch any of those vloggers going to the stadium, and they're filming, but like around them, like 40%, 50% of people are also on their phones filming. They're filming the atmosphere. Like they're not participating, they're filming. They're like this. I in that regard, I think people are living their lives so much on social media these days. Like it's more important to get a cool reel for Instagram or for Facebook or whatever than it is to create atmosphere still. And that's just, that's a problem not just in Turkey. That's everywhere in the world. Like the profile of football fans is changing, but also, of course, the lower income fans are getting priced out the stadium, and that's also again something that will probably definitely harken back to. I don't know what tickets are like it for Celtic, but like in the Premier League, I know that's a big issue.
Yeah, it was a issue in the Premier League. Yeah,
because how much is a season ticket for Celtic? It's probably like
I've got no idea, bro. I've never checked it.
probably like £10,000 or something, or I don't know.
I think you guys are right on all of these fronts. It's the sort of generational shift is a part of all this, right? Technology,
But Sinan,
also more access, right? Like I think a lot of those people who used to have to go to the stadium with a low income to see their team play, now they can stay home and pay less money to see their team more easily, from the comfort of their home.
I mean,
there's all sorts of things.
I have to be honest, like with my eyesight, I don't know if I would live if I lived in Turkey. If I lived in Turkey, I'd definitely have a season ticket. I don't know if I'd go every game because I wouldn't be able to watch the games, or I'd have to be like in the VIP seats where they have like the little televisions,
Maybe we're playing the if game. I suppose if we all lived in Turkey, we'd probably also go for the social aspect of like hanging out together
if I didn't,
shooting the shit and all that.
If I didn't have shitty eyesight, I would definitely have a season ticket and go to every single game, a home game at least. But
yeah, you wouldn't want to go to an away game, bro. It's like fucking torture, man. That'd be.
Yeah, I can imagine. Plus, I mean, in the away games, there's always local fans there. I mean,
Yeah, you don't need that drama.
No, I mean, like,
but yeah,
Beşiktaş fans, right? They go and they support the team, so I don't think.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But I mean, but the thing is still like Beşiktaş is located in a 15 million metropolitan area, and we struggle to get 25,000 fans in the stadium for a match like this. And if you then look at a club like Racing Genk, that's like, let's have a look. How many people, like the population of what is the population of Limburg? This is the entire province. This is the in Belgium. Let's see what the population. Why can't I type this? For fuck's sake. Allee, jongen, fucker.
Here, I'll read some comments while you're doing
Yeah, but let's see. So
You asked about Celtic. Can £579 is the starting price for an adult season ticket, which is I'd say that's quite reasonable.
that's
to be honest.
cheap as hell.
That's not bad.
By the way,
yeah.
the population of the province where Racing Genk plays is 900,000, and they have a full stadium every home game.
Yeah, and I mean compare that to Celtic as well. Like the Greater Glasgow area's population is just over 1 million, and they fill a 60,000 seater every week.
Yeah, and so do Rangers, right?
Rangers fill out, well, it was 50,000, but obviously still impressive.
Yeah.
Every week.
So there's no reason why Beşiktaş shouldn't be filling their stadium every home game. There's just no reason.
Yeah, but obviously the economy is a big factor as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many factors. It's nuanced.
See,
it's complex.
you need to see the minimum wage in Turkey.
Yeah.
It works out.
But
about
now it's the
150.
economy. Before that, it was Paso League. It feels like we've been making up excuses for.
Yeah,
I
attendance
think
for
economy is a fair excuse, but man, come on. See if you need to decide if you're going to feed your family or go to a Beşiktaş game, you feed your family, man.
But how many?
that's-
But
I mean, there are. Let's just guys, but like, there are a ton of factors, right? That is a factor, no
but
doubt.
still,
But like, so are the other
but-
ones we've talked
But
about. The tech
in
and
a
the
city where there's 15 million people, you can't tell me that there isn't 50,000 Beşiktaş fans who are on more.
Yeah, that's crazy.
On more than minimum wage, who could easily afford a season ticket, who could go. There's definitely.
I mean, there is because when they want to, they fill it out. When they're doing well, they fill it out every game essentially.
Exactly.
Obviously,
Exactly, yeah.
people, but clearly, there's not enough people that can be asked when they're doing badly. But I think if the economy was better, you would see it fill more often. Because then maybe like it's more worth it to them, you know, when the team's doing bad.
Also, I mean, I don't know if you saw the latest one for the Galatasaray game, and I know it's a derby, but like the amount of people, that guy spoke German, and the amount of people he met on the street that spoke German, which implies that there's just so many traveling fans, right? So many people coming from Germany, from Belgium, from the Netherlands to watch these games. Like
I've been to Beşiktaş games where there's been a lot of good matches cut out.
Yeah. So, like, for those big matches, a lot of people fly into town to come watch them. But, like, for Başakşehir, unless you're playing for the title, people aren't flying in for those. But then it's kind of weird that we don't have the local fans to fill those spots. No.
Yeah. Yesterday, the Nets sold out their first game of the season, or like one of their first games, because they played the Knicks, and the announcer was talking about how it's all these Knicks fans who like can't afford to see the Knicks during the regular season, who can go to Brooklyn. But so you'd think that we'd have some. Yeah, I don't know. It's.
Is it that expensive to go to the Knicks? Do you go?
It's pretty expensive. I mean. It's about $100, I would say, per ticket.
But then you have seats or something.
Yeah, they're not great. Like I like to spend about 120 because then you can get a pretty decent seat. But it's not, a couple times a year.
Yeah, if you go a couple times a year, that's not too bad. Obviously, if you want to go every week, that's
crazy.
That can get pretty pricey because 80, what is it? 82 games in a regular season
82
plus playoffs, and the playoffs is probably more expensive.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure
they're
there's
crazy.
Especially they sell season tickets.
Yeah,
as well,
season
right?
ticket holders get access. Yeah, exactly. No, but and they still manage to sell out despite economic hardship and all that. So you have to imagine
economic
that
hardship in the US is
of course New York and in New York City specifically.
In the UK, since after COVID, we've had what's called a cost of living crisis. This country is economically in a bad position for British standards, but it's an economic haven still compared to Turkey.
Oh, yeah.
We
cannot compare
I mean, just talking about minimum wage, in December 2023, there was a study done into the percentage of people in Turkey on minimum wage, and the study found that it was around 50% of the country is on minimum wage. I mean, that's really bad.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That seems really, really low.
Yeah.
Really, really high. Sorry, that seems really, really high. That's insane. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, even in the UK, for example, like seeing most dead end jobs to make things a bit competitive, they'll pay you a wee bit more than the minimum wage. So you'll be getting a bit more than that. But in Turkey, most places will pay the minimum wage.
What do you think we should do next season? Should they just completely or at least like a high percentage slash them and give like priority? Like I don't know, like
I'd say do last call. Let's have a last call situation. So like 10 minutes before the game, you massively reduce the seat prices. So people who are there locally can just get in for super cheap.
I think that's actually a better idea because I think if you're gonna like slash the season ticket prices a lot, then you're gonna have a lot of those
people who aren't committed. You want people to come.
Like if they're gonna slash season ticket prices, then it's so much like you, me, Kartal, we'd be like, oh, you know what? Maybe we want to go for 2 to 3 games. Oh, we'll just buy a season ticket that we're guaranteed, and we don't have to worry about the hassle of dealing with Paso League and getting a ticket. Let's just get a season ticket. You know, it's so much easier, and there's so many people already who do that. Like Turks in Belgium and Germany and in the Netherlands, they buy a season ticket just so they don't have to. Sorry,
I've done it once as well.
Yeah. I mean, and so I think the last call, what you're saying, Sinan, is a much better idea because then people who don't have the money to pay full price for a ticket can still get in. And, you know, the whole Orta Çizgi thing, that's, you know, people used to climbing over the fences and stuff like that. Like, I think a lot of the reason our stadiums were always full back in the day was because a lot of people were getting in for free, you know? And that is something that we kind of scoff at today. But maybe we should facilitate it to an extent that people who can't really afford it can still get in. Maybe, you know, 10 minutes before the game, like you say, or 10 minutes after kickoff. Just open the gates. I mean, that's that's maybe open the gates is an exaggeration because obviously
proverbially,
you know,
exactly.
You still have to like, you know, check them if they don't have weapons and stuff like that. But yeah. Still, there should be like an ID check or something, and they should have a Beşiktaş Paso League or something at the very minimum. But
I mean, they have to pay maybe $5 or
There's ways to get the stadium full for sure.
Yeah, exactly. They're just be innovative.
And take initiative. Do more things like kids and women get in for free, like those types of things. Do that. Exactly. More often. Or have
like a fan day where
a fan or season ticket holders can bring like one extra person or something like that, you know, like for free, stuff like that. Like take those types of initiatives. Try and get youth. Try and reach the youth. You know, organize like I don't know, like for schools for Beşiktaş fans who goes to certain schools or something, like for them to get a free ticket. I don't know. You have to also ensure the future fans and stuff like that, and you have to get them young. Exactly. So there's ways to do that, I think. But that's all. Absolutely. That's Adala and the club who need to figure out ways. But I think that's something we definitely need to start thinking about because at this rate, I don't know how many young kids are still gonna be Beşiktaş fans. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's much more,
especially in this day and age of plastic.
It's much
international fandom.
So much easier to support Galatasaray, and even though they haven't won the
Premier League team,
and even though they haven't won the league for 10 years, it's so much easier to support Fenerbahce. Even because at least with Fenerbahce, you get big signings all the time and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of questions about Mourinho here in New York. Umar Gunal said, the reason why we struggle so much to score is because we only have one outlet open play and on the ground we have zero air presence, zero set piece organization. We limit ourselves a lot. Rashica was on the right. He messed up his crosses. He swapped to the left and he messed up his finishing chances. He delivered on both sides. I mean.
I mean, we it's like pulling teeth. Watching us trying to score goals is like pulling teeth. It's been like that for most of the season, and there's only one player in the team that consistently gets into goal-scoring positions and scores relatively easily, and that's Rafa. And even he misses plenty,
like half.
But I mean, but I mean that's the problem. Isn't Rafa? The problem is that we don't have anyone else. Like that's one of the things. Like Mustafa Hekimoğlu, I think, good game, but doesn't get in his. Did he get in this? No, I don't think he got in a single goal scoring position. He got in a goal scoring position against Kasımpaşa, but like
that late one.
He's not like he doesn't. He has good physique, but like he's not offering much presence in the box despite his physique.
Yeah, he's not doing much with it. And then we have Murder Merit saying that Merit is on a decline. How about that? Double Merit. Triple Merit if you count Merit. Murder Merit says Merit's on a decline the past few weeks. From the Heart videos, agrees that he's sliding for sure.
That's Mert, right? This is Mert. This is why I've never been a big fan of Mert, because and this is also why I scoff at people putting him in like S tier and shit. Like, oh my god, what's wrong with you people?
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, Redditors.
People. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, the Cadratici worked in 1985 when they were getting paid peanuts and couldn't travel abroad. Immobile will use that time to get paid to visit his family in Italy. That's Umer, by the way. I'm not going to read all these comments again, but let's see. Carlito says the Divan Kurulu plays a crucial role in overseeing and discussing the club's financial matters. So that's sort of what you were saying, Khan. Apparently, Murder Merit said they filed an investigation with the disciplinary division today. So it's something
but
from
investigation. An investigation to what? To Hassan Arat?
And run by who?
Or to
exactly.
Tevfik Yamanturk? And yeah, who's overseeing it? And yeah,
it's like when you put the police in charge of investigating themselves.
At the very least, settle. I don't know. Did he make a statement? Did the club issue a statement on what happened, or did they just put their heads in the sand, ostrich style?
I think they've announced an investigation. I'm sure.
Yeah, but did they condemn what happened or anything like that?
No. Yeah, nothing brave.
Yeah.
Sadly.
I mean, I understand that
I
understand that as a club, you do not go anywhere near, making a statement on the political turmoil in the country. But at least the political turmoil within your own club, come on, show some balls, man. Show some bravery.
Yeah, I think this is going to stir some conversation. So first, Umer says, I think it's clear there's more to this presidency of Adala than just the love for Beşiktaş. And then he says, it's a simple league. Good goalie, good striker, mediocre rest is enough for the Turkish league.
This?
Is Galatasaray's Umer Günal, is Galatasaray's backline way better than ours? Yes, but he didn't say that. Is their midfield massively better than ours? Yes. Goalkeeper and striker. I think that's being a little too simplistic, Umer.
I think you need people to feed the ball to the striker. I think you need to create chances.
And their defense and midfield are probably better than us.
But a good striker makes a massive difference in the league for sure. Just the present. I mean, that's just we are like a decapitated snake. Like there's no venom. We have no venom because our team.
And one contention with Umer's point though, he said you only need a good keeper and a good striker. I mean, we won the championship with
Tolga
Ersin
Tolga
or Tolga, right? Yeah, exactly. That's probably a better example.
Ozan Özyakup announced his favorite team of 11 that he played with, and he put Tolga in goal. I just could.
Yeah.
I mean, Ozan,
Clown
seriously,
show.
And he put Cenk as the striker. I understand that because that's his friend.
That's his buddy.
I understand.
And I mean, it's not like he didn't do anything. He was great.
And Cenk had a big role in Beşiktaş's success. But Tolga, oh my god. Anyway, sorry, off topic, but that was.
Umit Deniz said, new commenter, I think. Umit says, in Turkey, Dortmund isn't possible, and then he does the starry-eyed emoji. It's sort of a weird,
I mean, but if we keep saying that, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
I know, exactly. That's why I don't want to internalize the idea that somehow Turks aren't capable of developing players.
It is possible, but you need bravery from a president that isn't just going to react on a whim when things aren't. Who's going to stay the course? Because the problem with all that is it's not always going to be smooth sailings, and you're going to have tough periods like now. And it's very important now that Serdar Adalı stays the course with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, with the way he wants to run the club. But also, it's important that we're going to find the financial means to accommodate that new vision. Because if we are next season left with 75 to 80% of this squad, yeah, what can Ole do then?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I know I did say that if you exchange Chiro for Onuachu, we'd have a different season, and I stand by that. But we're not going to be closing the gap with that one change. The squad, the squad is so deeply lacking in depth and in the right puzzle pieces, and that is something that's going to require time and money.
And I think, it's in part, I think we tell ourselves, so all right, we talk about culture, the culture of a club, of a country, right? It's different when you talk about a nation's culture, which is like their art and music and thousands of years of something that's, very hard to change, versus like a corporate culture where you can hire the right person and they can shift that corporate culture in a month,
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about the problems that face young footballers in Turkey and the sort of the cultural issues, right? Like, I often think about those stories everyone told us about those kids smoking in the locker room, and there are cultural issues that need to be addressed.
But you have that in Italy, for example, as well.
Exactly. And I think you can have a club that strives for such a degree of professionalism that they're like, no, cut that shit out. Like, you want to be a good footballer? Take your cigarettes somewhere the fuck else. Like, we're not interested at all in you doing that here, right? And if you have enough of a kind of brand, right? If you're Beşiktaş, for example, and if a kid wants to succeed and be a good football player, they're going to want to play for the best academy, have the best opportunities, etc. And so they'll stop smoking cigarettes if you make them, I think we have to kind of let go of that defeatist mentality that somehow we're like stuck with our worst habits because we're Turkish or, something like that, there are obviously cultural norms that need to be, taken realistically, but I don't think we have to apply that to like the country's footballing and the capacity for us to develop kids. We should be able to do it. Anyway.
Yeah.
But so anyway, despite that, welcome Umit to the crew here. Please keep them coming with the comment. And then Khan 2.0 enters the chat a little late. He said Ox played as a wide back and was not a nightmare? ? Nope, we love to bring people with no interest of playing. Some of these we could probably go over quickly. Atil John agreed with your take, Khan, on Jedson. He says he thinks that most modern managers in world football would put Jedson straight into their 11. Cartel, you want to dispute that?
Yeah, what was that, sorry?
Atil Malak said he thinks that most modern managers in world football would put Jedson straight into their 11.
Not at the top level. I think his lack of passing game would prevent him from playing in the top 11 of a top team. That's why he's at Beşiktaş.
I mean, he could still get a move to a higher level theoretically, but
that's true.
Well,
that's going to be
seen.
true for 95% of footballers. They're at Beşiktaş because they're not that level, right?
Yeah.
I mean, other than Rafa Silva, there's not a single player in Beşiktaş, or even in Turkey, other than Osimhen, and maybe Davinson Sanchez, because I mean he flopped at Tottenham, so probably not.
Yeah.
So other than Osimhen and Rafa Silva in the whole league, I don't think there's a single player who could be playing at the top level.
Enter someone's 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Jedson might be the closest on our team, besides Rafa Silva, obviously, who is actually at that level, probably. Anyway, Eden, you said that my analysis was spot on. I don't know which one. Oh, about Musrati. Thanks, Eden. Atil says, yeah. Oh, sorry. Khan 2.0 says the profile of the fans in the stadium has changed during the Fikret Orman era.
Yeah, but I think that has less to do with Fikret Orman and more to do with the changing times, because
the coup. Remember the coup happened?
No,
then,
but
right?
it's like the beginning of the 2010s. It's like the emergence of social media, Instagram, Twitter, were up and coming. Facebook was
I'm
around for a
curious.
while already.
Kartal, you might be the one to ask. You're probably the closest to Turkey amongst three of us. After the Gezi stuff, and obviously Beşiktaş's name was very linked to some of the stuff going on there with the protest. Was it is it possible that people didn't want to show their support for Beşiktaş as openly because there was fear of being labeled
No, I don't think so.
a reactionary or revolutionary or something like that? So there was no...
No, I don't think so, not at all.
No, you still have prominent politicians proudly.
Yeah, of course. I should have. What am I thinking?
Profiling themselves as Beşiktaş fans and stuff like that.
I wondered if there was such fear of repression.
It's a fair question.
Right after it,
Bache did remove his membership from the club though, but that was years after because what's the word? There was anti-government chants, I think, in the stands after the earthquake.
Yeah.
So that was long after Gezi, but David Bache finally decided to disassociate himself from the club, which I think that was it's better for the club, to be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good riddance.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious if there was any repression or fear of repression or anything like that, but maybe that's a little dramatic. Then, I think that's about it, really. Atil said he was no, we already did that. Khan 2.0, yeah, we did that. Atil says, yeah, Khan, you're kind of hitting the nail on the head regarding the state of football in general, meaning the whole generational shift. He said he's trying to see how much it costs for a local Argentine to get tickets to a Boca game, but for example, accessibility is huge. Also, though, generationally, there has been a shift in fandom. Argentina, talk about economic problems, man. They are really going through it at the moment.
River were even in the second division for a while there because of their financial issues as well. By the way, Count 2.0, I think you're not in the WhatsApp group yet, man. You should definitely join up because you're in every live broadcast. You're in the chat. We really appreciate you. But we'd love to chat with you outside of matches as well. And of course, that goes for everyone watching who maybe you don't always join in on the live chat, but you're watching or you're watching on delay. Come and join us in the WhatsApp group. You can go to patreon.com/BeşiktaşPodcast. You become a free member there. You can get the link. Doesn't cost anything. Or, you can always reach out to me on Twitter or on Blue Sky and I can give you a link. Otherwise, alternatively, you can join on YouTube and become a member there, and then you can gain access to the link that way as well. So there's plenty of ways to get in, but please come and join the party there.
Yeah. Atcha said that those German leagues are set up for fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I imagine the accessibility is quite solid. Yeah, the Bundesliga is doing things at a very high level these days.
But I think that is a model that Turkish football should be trying to adopt as well.
100%. Yeah, that's modernism, really, right? It's you have to think outside of the box.
Yeah.
As times change, what do you do to make your product marketable?
I think the TFF would prefer to go down the route of La Liga and down the route of the Premier League because the proof is in the pudding. Look at what they're doing with the Super Cup. They're
moving it to Saudi Arabia and whatnot.
No, but they're changing the format of the Super Cup where it's going to be a 4-team playoff, which is there's totally no demand for it. The reason that in Spain they did that is because there's a lot of money to be made there.
Well, they play those games in the US and shit, right?
In the US or in Saudi or in Qatar, and they get paid millions and millions and millions. It's super lucrative for them. But for Turkish football, it makes absolutely no sense. There's barely any interest in the Turkish Cup unless one of the big teams is in the final. There's barely any interest in the Super Cup unless it's two big teams against each other. So, why would you add more matches to the calendar? That's just ridiculous. The way Turkish football is being ran, it's they think they're the Premier League, they think they're La Liga, but they're totally not. And they run it like they what those leagues maybe they look at what those big boys are doing and oh, we can do that, but no, we can't because there's no interest in it. There's no market for it. There's no money in it. If it was super lucrative for the clubs involved, yeah, sure, why not? But for 10 million lira, it's not worth it because you fuckers fine us 4.5 million lira for telling you you're a piece of shit anyway. So I mean, what's the point, right? Like, it's fucking petty change. So unless they make it lucrative, like, there's no money in it for the clubs. It's stupid.
Yeah. Khan Tubano says, imagine paying to watch the Knicks, bunch of owner Buluts playing basketball. Oh, Khan. We have the 5th best record in the NBA, which the season is just over, so. Wrong! Carlito says, wow, that's weird. They got rid of this off of the thing, but it's in the... Oh, shit, better hurry up and find it. It said the capital gains thing was announced. The buying period will be from 14th to April 30th, so the result will most likely be clear before the election. That's weird. They deleted that from the...
Oh, sorry, what? So the
Carlito
capital...
gave us... Ural gave us a good statement on the capital gains thing, and I lost it because it's not in the live chat. YouTube deleted it for some reason.
Let's have a look. Maybe I can find it.
We can go up a little in there, but crazy.
No, but I have a widget in OBS that shows me all the chat stuff.
Adela did make a statement, but nothing brave indeed. Khan wants to know how to join the group. So Khan Tubano, you got to go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast. And then join for free. There's like a free join option. And then once you're in, you'll see access to our WhatsApp group. Is it is it like the top comment, Khan?
It should be pinned, yeah, but I mean,
it's like a pinned comment.
What I could also do is I could probably paste it in the live chat. The bots will not find it.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Hopefully not. We'll see. I mean, if we get one input, if a bunch of them at once, we can get rid of them.
Then we know. Then I have to change. So here's the link. That's the WhatsApp invite link. So for those of you who want to join our WhatsApp community, super active. Super active. We have people from all over the world. Go and check it out. The link is in the live chat right now. I'm not gonna put it in the comments though, guys, because we did that in the past and we got like a ridiculous amount of spammers joining.
Yeah.
So that's
crypto.
That's the reason why it's behind a paywall. It's not really behind a paywall. You can actually access it for free. You just have to register on our Patreon, or you have on YouTube. It is actually on a paywall because you do have to become a YouTube member to gain access to it. But there's plenty of ways like to get it for free. It's not something that we're hiding behind a paywall, but we have to hide it behind some sort of wall because otherwise we get lots of crypto and what is it, stock exchange scammers like bots joining the channel, spamming every channel in the, every chat in there, and then we end up kicking them and stuff like that. It's super tedious having to remove them and having to delete their messages all the time. So that's why the link is not publicly available.
Oh, here, I have Ural's comment. He said, damn it. My comment was, the capital increase date was announced. The buying period will be from April 16th till the 30th. So the result will likely be clear before the elections. Okay. That's wise. Get that out of the way, I mean, if you're doing something well for the club, it's fair to run on that, right?
But Ural, is that only for current stockholders that can buy, or can we buy as well? Not that I have the money for it, but I'm just asking for a friend.
He'll answer that, I guess. But yeah, I think that just about covers us. If we want to stall for an answer there from Ural. Anyway, I guess not. Shall I take us out?
It's only for the current. Yeah, let's take us out. Let's call it a day. Thanks everyone for watching. By the way, go and check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast. and go or become a YouTube member. Consider becoming a YouTube member for the monthly Sporting reports and the weekly VIP podcast. I need to get on that, by the way, for this week. Sorry about that. My computer was in the shop for the last couple of days. I only got it back Saturday. I got it back on Saturday. But I'm currently using my son's keyboard because mine is still taken.
Colorful.
Mine is still taken apart because it was so dirty. It's full of dog hair. I spilled a shake in it a couple of weeks ago, so I had to take out all the keys and clean it out and wash the keys, and the keys are dry. Well, the keys are dry now, but it still has to be reassembled.
Well, good luck with that. Make sure you put the letters in the right place, or you're gonna have a very confusing time.
Definitely.
All right. Well, so of course, stay tuned, folks. Like, follow, and subscribe. Check out our Patreon. Check out our YouTube membership as well. Our next match will, of course, be this coming Saturday, April 19th, on the road against Göztepe in Izmir.
Mm-hmm.
Should be an interesting match.
Yeah.
We're in bad form, and we're bringing a sort of negative vibe into the match, although it's worth noting that we were very good against Göztepe when we had 11 players, until we lost our 11th player. But yeah, so hope for the best. Obviously, we are with one game in hand. We're in 5th place, 2 points behind Eyüpspor, so we would pass them by winning that game in hand, and 3 points behind Samsunspor, which means that we'd be level on points with them if we win that game. And should they drop more points, we could still pass them. There's 8 matches left in the season, so don't rule us out yet. Definitely stay tuned. We'll be here to talk about whatever happens next. Along those lines, it's very important that I mention. Let's go, Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody! Show me the names! Show me the names! We've got Özkan. Don't comment. There's the Mario 1 and the 2 and the 3 Vargas. Michal Tariq, Sebastian, the NAP sporting director, the vigilante first manager, Nasser, Mr. Manu, and of course, the indubitable, indomitable, indefatigable, the financier, the Dutch Eagle. Peace out, everybody!